Hiruzen would treat Lu Han once he didn't do what Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Han, if you want to marry her, you must understand. You must marry her. Tsunade cried in Lu Han's arms. Lu Han was stunned. Time flies by like a white horse. 32 years of Konoha, November. It has been half a year since Lu Han married Hyuga Luoning. Lu Han originally resisted this matter because he didn't want to hurt Hyuga Luoning. Once something went wrong with him, Hyuga Luoning would be finished, but Tsunade persuaded him to do it again and again. Crying, finally convinced him. The wedding was very low-key. After all, they are married to a concubine, so it is not a big fanfare. The wedding will be held in Lu Han's mansion. Not many people were invited, but many important Konoha figures were still present, such as Hyuga Huyang, Uchiha Leung, Hataki Sakumo and so on. This morning, Lu Han woke up faintly and was awake for a while. He turned his head and looked at the other side of the soft collapse, only to see two lovely people hugging each other, sleeping soundly. Hyuga Luoning curled up in Tsunade's arms, hugging Tsunade's waist, with dry tears in the corners of his eyes. Lu Han recalled the absurdity of last night and rubbed his nose subconsciously. In fact, he didn't want to be so absurd. Hyuga Luoning married and slept in separate rooms. She and Tsunade each had a room. Lu Han took turns sleeping, but because Lu Han was in good health, Tsunade often begged for mercy. Hyuga Luoning couldn't stand it at all. In the end, it was Tsunade. Clapboard, 3 people lived together. Lu Han turned over. Tsunade and Hyuga Luoning both woke up after that. Hyuga Luoning rubbed in Tsunade's arms in a daze, looked up and saw Tsunade squinting at him. He immediately smiled and kissed Tsunade's face. Tsunade was suddenly angry. He glared at Hyuga Luoning. Cough, you two, it's all right. Lu Han coughed. The two women suddenly turned to Yuhi. The two got up one after another and put on their clothes under Lu Han's appreciative eyes. Hyuga Luoning was deliberately twisting and twisting there. Tsunade, who was dressed first, pinched Hyuga Luoning's face and said angrily, "Damn girl, don't mess with him. If you set him on fire, I won't save you. I'm not afraid of him." Hyuga Luoning wrinkled her nose, and then called out, "Yeah." But it was Lu Han who suddenly took action and pulled her back to the soft collapse. Tsunade suddenly showed a helpless look, gave Lu Han a blank look and said, "I'll go down to you first, don't play too much, today's meeting is very important and can't be delayed." Lu Han gave Tsunade a reassuring look. Hyuga Luoning began to cry for help. "Sister, don't go. Don't go." Chapter 0591 Tsunade's Proposal. Lu Han finally let Hyuga Luoning go. Hyuga Luoning escaped and left the room, not even putting on her clothes, but holding her in her arms. Is a corridor outside the room. Hyuga Luoning just ran out when she saw the door on the side opened. Uzumaki Kushina, who was wearing cute pajamas with sleepy eyes, stood at the door and asked while rubbing his eyes, "What's wrong? It's so noisy that no one is allowed to sleep in the morning." "Huh, Sister Luoning, where are your clothes?" It's not that Hyuga Luoning didn't wear it, she just wore less. "Little girl, don't ask if you shouldn't." Hyuga Luoning Yuhi said. "You won't be kicked out by your father, right?" The little girl said strangely, with the appearance of a little adult. "I'll just say, 2 women and 1 man must fight." "Damn girl, what did you say?" Hyuga Luoning Jongkiba danced into Kushina's room and closed the door. She got dressed first, and then urged the little girl to get dressed. After taking the little girl downstairs, the little girl went to the yard to practice the exercises. Tsunade was already preparing breakfast in the kitchen, and Hyuga Luoning went in to help. Lu Han fell asleep again. After an hour, the neatly dressed Lu Han walked down the stairs. The food was already set on the dining table downstairs. Little girl Kushina was already sitting at the table, looking like she couldn't wait. But Lu Han didn't come yet, and she didn't dare to use chopsticks. The rules at home were the same. Tsunade decided that Kushina was afraid of Luhan, but she dared to act like a spoiled child with Luhan, but she didn't dare to act like a spoiled child to Tsunade. Tsunade walked to the table with the last dish. Hyuga Luo Ning took the bowls and chopsticks on 3 tables and served rice to several people. It's so fragrant. Luhan smiled and kissed Tsunade's face first. Hyuga Luo Ning also took the initiative to come over and let Luhan kiss, and then a few people took their seats and took the meal that Hyuga Luo Ning handed over. Luhan was about to move chopsticks, but saw the little girl sitting opposite, with a stinky face, pouting angrily. Little ancestor, who messed with you? Luhan asked. Kiss them, but don't kiss me. I really am not biological. Kushina didn't even look at Luhan, just muttered there. Luhan's head was full of black lines, and he wasn't his own. Okay, you. Luhan smiled, put his probe on Kushina's face and kissed it, and then touched Kushina's little head. Kushina immediately smiled. A child is a child, and it is easy to coax. Have a meal. Really like a family of 4, happy. Tsunade served Luhan some food, and then said, I have a proposal for today's general meeting, and you have to support me at that time. What proposal? Luhan asked curiously. This. Tsunade handed the prepared scroll to Luhan. Luhan opened it and looked, and then his face became strange. Tsunade's proposal turned out to be, let the medical ninja go to the battlefield. This matter was also mentioned in the original work. Tsunade's proposal was not passed in the original work. Most of the ninjas who attended the meeting opposed this proposal, but there was a special person who expressed support, that is Kato Dan, and Tsunade also. It was through this incident that he got closer and closer to Kato Dan and eventually became lovers. In the original book, Kato Dan was Tsunade's first love and died in battle. But now, in the Hokage world where Luhan lives, it is naturally impossible for this to happen again. Tsunade is already Luhan's wife. What? Seeing Luhan's strange expression, Hyuga Luo Ning couldn't help but look at it. He glanced at the content on the scroll and hesitated. I'm afraid this proposal will not pass. It is too dangerous to let medical ninjas go to the battlefield. Sister, I'm afraid. She looked at Tsunade. It is indeed very dangerous to have medical ninjas on the frontal battlefield. Tsunade said seriously, but the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Many ninjas are not fatally injured on the battlefield, but because they did not come to remember the treatment, their injuries deteriorated and they died. Medical ninjas on the battlefield can reduce the occurrence of such things, and as long as they are properly protected, medical ninjas may not necessarily die on the battlefield, such as me. I am also a medical ninja. Quote. But, Hyuga Luo Ning wanted to say something, but didn't dare. You don't support me either. Tsunade looked at Hyuga Luo Ning. How could it be? Support. Hyuga Luo Ning laughed immediately, obviously saying something against her heart. She didn't dare to offend Tsunade. You want to help me? Tsunade looked at Luhan. Yes. Luhan nodded, but said again, but. Luhan pointed to his cheek with a smile. Tsunade decisively went up and kissed. Shy, so shy. The little girl Kushina yelled. Tsunade gave her a sideways glance. She was honest. Han, I know, you may not agree with this proposal in your heart, and I don't expect this proposal to be passed once, but at least the foundation must be laid. Tsunade said, and said with some anger, damn, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, these 2 bastards, they don't support me. They don't support it. Luhan raised his brows. Yes, the impact of this matter is too great. Although they have a good relationship with me, it does not mean that they listen to me in everything. So, that's because they have no vision, no foresight at all. Don't worry, I'll let the proposal pass. Tsunade looked at Luhan in surprise. She always believed in Luhan, but Luhan said that the proposal would be passed. She felt that Luhan was talking big. Even the people who had the best relationship with Tsunade were not optimistic about the proposal. The proposal passed. Resistance can be imagined. In fact, the best result Tsunade expects this time is to get some support and lay a solid foundation for the next mention. Can it really pass? It's difficult. Hyuga Luo Ning didn't believe it, and muttered softly. Morning. In front of the Hokage building, there were crowds of people. Meeting started. Many people had already arrived in advance, and most of the important people in Konoha village had come. Today's meeting is extremely important. The full name of this meeting is Konoha All Jonin War Decision-Making Meeting, referred to as Jonin Meeting. This is the highest level general meeting held in Konoha village since the outbreak of the Second Ninja World War. Proposals can be made, and each proposal needs to be approved or rejected by vote. Only Hokage has a veto power, but generally this veto power will not be used, otherwise the conference will lose its meaning. Chapter 0592_Power. Outside the Hokage building, more than 100 people, including senior Konoha ninjas and important people, gathered in twos and threes. Under the shade of a tree, Luhan and Hyuga Huyang stood together. Lord Hangguang, what proposal did you prepare this time? Hyuga Huyang asked. I'm still considering it, Luhan replied, glancing at Hyuga Huyang. Lord Huyang, how about you? Speaking of which, Hyuga Huyang is Luhan's elder, because he married Hyuga Luo Ning, who is Hyuga Huyang's nephew. Hyuga Luo Ning's father Hyuga Haeyang, but Hyuga Huyang's younger brother, so from Hyuga Luo Ning from Ning's side, Hyuga Huyang is Luhan's uncle. But Luhan would definitely not recognize him. At the beginning, he made the decision to marry Hyuga Luo Ning to Luhan, but he had no good intentions. Although Luhan did not suffer from the loss of accepting the beautiful girl into the room, he would not be grateful to Hyuga Huyang. It's a proposal for funding. Hyuga Huyang said, during the war, the funding of the major tribes should also be adjusted. I have already told Lord Hokage that it will be approved 80% of the time. It's time for adjustment. Luhan nodded. In fact, he knew in his heart that such an important proposal as funding adjustment would not be brought up by Hyuga Huyang without Sarutobi Hiruzen's permission. Even, this proposal is probably what Sarutobi Hiruzen meant. Hyuga Huyang is just a person who made a proposal. Funding is too sensitive. If Sarutobi Hiruzen comes to mention it directly, it will definitely lead to some clan dissatisfaction. Hyuga Tiger Young mentions it is another matter. No matter what, the blame will not point to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Luhan chatted with Hyuga Huyang for a few more words, and when he saw Jiraiya and the others coming, he pleaded guilty and left. Tsunade has been talking to some of Konoha's senior medical ninjas, and she's canvassing herself, but it doesn't seem to be going well. Don't give up yet. Jiraiya walked over to Tsunade, next to Orochimaru. As I said, your proposal is whimsical. Ah. Tsunade turned around and hit Jiraiya in the stomach with an elbow, and Jiraiya was speechless in pain. Crow's mouth. Tsunade glared at Jiraiya angrily. Actually, what he said is good. Give it up. This kind of proposal is not good for you. Orochimaru said coldly. Bastard, who asked you to say? Tsunade suddenly got angry and raised his fist. A hand suddenly stretched out from behind, grabbed Tsunade, and said hoarsely, calm down, don't let people see jokes. But Luhan just walked behind Tsunade and stopped Tsunade, and everyone else had left with interest. Now, there are only 4 of them left. Orochimaru had black lines all over his head. He didn't expect Tsunade to be so sensitive on this matter. Nearly beaten. Already married, yet still so angry. Jiraiya rubbed her stomach and complained, besides, we are doing it for your own good, and such an impossible proposal, don't mention it, it will affect your reputation. Who said it was impossible to pass? Luhan said, I will support her. Jiraiya looked at Luhan in surprise, then grabbed Luhan's neck and whispered, no, Han, do you really want to support her brainless proposal? Let me tell you, women or I can't get used to it. I've come here, although I'm not married, but I know quite a few women. I tell you, it's more severe than necessary, or she'll kick her nose. Ah. Before Jiraiya could finish speaking, Tsunade kicked him out. Not many people who dare to hang out with Captain Anbu in public. Not many hits by Tsunade all the time. Jiraiya has both. 9 o'clock in the morning. The door to the largest public meeting room in the Hokage building opened and everyone began to enter. Luhan pulled Tsunade and waited for a while, until almost all the people outside the Hokage building entered, and 8 figures came in a hurry. 8 senior ninjas from Anbu, including Hyuga Benin, Uchiha Bai, and Might Dai, arrived on time. It was agreed that there would be a formal meeting at 9 o'clock, and they were not late. The meeting room is huge and the environment is excellent. On the rostrum, Sarutobi Hiruzen was already seated, and there were only 2 people sitting around him. One was Danzo, the other was Kaharu Udatane, and several other advisors were sitting below. Below the rostrum is an arc-shaped conference table, which half surrounds the rostrum. The one closest to the rostrum is the first row, with a total of 8 rows. According to the level of status and position, there are already hundreds of senior Konoha ninjas sitting. Hyuga Huyang, Uchiha Leiyang and other clan chiefs are sitting in the first row. This meeting is said to be a general meeting, but it is impossible for all the Jonins in Konoha to come together, because the front line is fighting, and a large number of Jonin are on the front line, and even in Konoha, some Jonin have to stick to their posts and cannot leave without authorization. However, these ninjas present can basically represent the entire Jonin of Konoha, such as the Uchiha clan. There are 6 people in total. These 6 people are high-level Uchiha clan. They are enough to represent the entire Jonin of the Uchiha clan. The meeting has not started yet, and there is a lot of noise in the venue. Luhan brought Tsunade into the door, followed by 8 Anbu ninjas. Except Tsunade, all of them dressed up as mysterious and cold guys. Tsunade held Luhan's arm, and his expression was serious. There was silence in the venue. Lord Cold Light. Lord Hangguang, you are here. Captain Cold Light. Master Tsunade. Luhan walked in with Tsunade, and many senior Konoha ninjas who had already taken their seats stood up and greeted him. Uchiha Leiyang also nodded to Luhan. Luhan showed a moderate indifference, but the necessary people still responded. On the podium, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was sorting out the files, stopped and frowned slightly. Half-year. The Cold Light keeps a low profile, never goes out for tasks, and rarely has contact with people, but his power is increasing day by day, which is not a pleasant thing for Sarutobi Hiruzen. Luhan Tsunade came to the first row. Tsunade couldn't have sat in the first row. The first row was filled with figures such as legion commanders, clan chiefs, high-level advisors, etc. She had strength and status, but her position was not high. Both Jiraiya and Orochimaru sat in the second row. However, she is Han Guang's wife, and Luhan took her to the first row, and no one dared to say anything. 9:10 in the morning. The door to the meeting room was closed on time. The meeting begins. Chapter 0593_vote. This Jonin conference, the total number of people attending the conference exceeds 200, and every ninja who attends the conference has the right to make a proposal. However, the number of ninjas who can make proposals is still relatively small, such as the Hyuga clan. Although other people have come, it is enough for the patriarch to mention them. In the morning, a total of 28 proposals were discussed and voted on. Only 2 were rejected, and all the others were passed. Proposals must be well prepared. Before the meeting, extensive opinions were solicited. That would be a shame, very few would do this. Take a 1-hour break at noon, eat and drink tea. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the meeting continued. It is worth mentioning that Hatake Tsukumo came back in the afternoon and brought a few members of the S department into the venue. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's permission, they were officially listed as members of the meeting, and they could make proposals and vote. The meeting is in progress. The first row, Hatake Taishuo was sitting next to Luhan. He was sitting there as the captain of S Corps. On the other side of Luhan was Tsunade. Han, are you ready? Hatake Taishuo suddenly tilted his head and whispered, any good ideas? Tell me first. It's been half a year since the last draw with Luhan, and he and Luhan have discussed more than a dozen times. It's a competition, not a duel. Whoever gets injured first will be the winner. The relationship between the two has also improved by leaps and bounds, and they can be regarded as close friends. I haven't made up my mind yet. Luhan said softly with a smile. However, Tsunade has a proposal, and I will support her. Really? Hatake Taishuo leaned forward, looked past Luhan, looked at Tsunade, and whispered, "Brother and sister, what proposal?" "Let the medical ninja go to battle," Tsunade whispered back. Hatake Taishuo's face suddenly became extremely strange, and it could even be said to be twisted. He stopped asking, stopped talking, and sat upright. Because he knew that Tsunade had a bad temper. If Tsunade caused any trouble at the meeting, he didn't want to be ashamed. Tsunade's black face, she had already got the answer from Hatake Taishuo's attitude, and her heart suddenly felt a little sad, and now, except Luhan, no one supports her. She couldn't help holding Luhan's hand and clenched it tightly. Luhan looked at Tsunade, scratched his palm in Tsunade, and blinked. At 3 p.m., after the 40th proposal was voted on by all, Sarutobi Hiruzen announced its approval. Immediately, after obtaining permission from Sarutobi Hiruzen, Tsunade got up and took out the scroll from his arms, read the 42nd proposal, and explained the proposal. Pros and cons. I propose that the village should send medical ninjas to participate in the frontal battle. As soon as Tsunade said his proposal, there was an uproar, and there were buzzing discussions in the venue until Sarutobi Hiruzen said, "Silence," these sounds disappeared. Tsunade continued, "I think there are two advantages to having medical ninjas on the battlefield. First, it can reduce battlefield casualties and maintain the combat capability of the troops. This will be very effective. The medical ninjas always stay in the rear and in the rear camp, waiting for the injured to be sent back for treatment, which took a lot of time. Some ninjas had a chance to be rescued, but died on the way back to the camp. Second, medical ninjas should also experience the tempering of blood and fire. It is said that medical ninjas can only be protected. I am also a medical ninja. Although the main ability of medical ninjas is medical treatment, it does not mean that they have no combat ability." Tsunade spoke for a few minutes, expounding her views from multiple perspectives. In fact, she understands the role of medical ninjas on the battlefield better than others. Although her proposal is risky, it is very feasible. Tsunade finished speaking. There was a lot of noise in the venue. What a nonsense! How can medical ninjas be allowed to enter the battlefield? This will cause a large number of medical ninja casualties. Medical ninjas are not easy to cultivate, the number is scarce, and they can't afford losses at all. No, absolutely no, medical ninjas can't be on the battlefield. How could Master Tsunade have such an idea? It's impossible for this kind of proposal to pass. Of opposition, and Tsunade's face was very ugly. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw that the meeting place was chaotic like a vegetable market, and said coldly, "Quiet." The venue was silent for a while, but then there was a very small buzzing sound, and some people couldn't help it, and the meeting was originally allowed to discuss. As long as it didn't affect the meeting process, the sound was not loud, and Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't care anymore. "Tsunade, have you ever considered that once a large number of medical ninjas die, it will shake the foundation of Konoha, which will be irreversible?" On the podium, Kaharu Yuditane next to Sarutobi Hiruzen took the lead in attacking Tsunade, with a very serious expression. "I thought about it," Tsunade replied, "but it's just an assumption. As long as it's set up properly, this situation will never happen. Like me, maybe it's not appropriate to use my own example, but you know, I was born with the strength I am today, and I have grown to where I am today. I graduated from the ninja school at the age of 6. After I became a genin, I began to perform missions with Jiraiya Orochimaru. I have experienced more dangers than many ninjas have ever seen in their lifetime, but I'm not dead." "Nonsense." Danzo interrupted Tsunade's words with a slap on the table, and said angrily, "You are not only a medical ninja, but also a taijutsu ninja, can you compare? Tsunade's face turned cold, she wanted to strangle Danzo. Okay. Sarutobi Hiruzen settled the situation in time, he was afraid that Tsunade and Danzo would quarrel, let's vote directly. Those who agree with this proposal, please raise your hand. Tsunade raised his hand decisively and agreed with his proposal of course. In the venue, everyone else looked at me and looked at you. They basically shook their heads and didn't express their opinions. A few people raised their hands to express their support for Tsunade, but two of them slowly put their hands down again. They can't stand the pressure of being stared at by a group of people around them. Tsunade's face was bitter, and she was obviously embarrassed. As expected, she regretted it a little. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced back and forth, the approval rate was less than 2%, and it was hopeless. He was about to open his mouth to announce, but he heard a voice. I agree. Luhan, who was wearing a mask, raised his hand and said hoarsely, I think this proposal should be passed. Danzo sneered when he saw it, and knew you would agree, but it was of no use. Chapter 0594_Terrible Energy. Anbu Captain Han Guang raised his hand to show his support and even spoke. In fact, at this time, no one except the proposer was allowed to speak, but when Han Guang spoke, no one dared to criticize him. It was his daughter-in-law. No problem. At this time, most people thought that Han Guang just didn't want to make his wife look too ugly. Luhan raised his hand, and the 8 Anbu ninjas sitting in other positions also raised their hands to show their support. This is not unexpected. On the rostrum, Danzo next to Sarutobi Hiruzen took a sip from the teacup and kept his eyes on Luhan. It was a mocking look. The two had a deep hatred between the two. Danzo was honest for half a year, but it didn't mean that he would let go of his hatred and be able to be in the public eye. It is also a pleasant thing to see the Han Guang couple lose face. Luhan noticed Danzo's gaze and remained calm, waiting for someone to express his opinion. Support. Another important figure raised his hand. Suddenly there was a lot of discussion. This person turned out to be Hyuga Huyang. Hyuga Huyang expressed support, and all the Hyuga clan ninja raised their hands, which was surprising but also reasonable. Why? Because Han Guang is the son-in-law of the Hyuga family. The eldest lady of the Hyuga family is his daughter-in-law. Hyuga Huyang supports Tsunade's proposal to give Han Guang face. Hyuga Huyang, who was sitting at the other end of the first row, looked at each other and nodded. He understood very well that Hyuga Huyang didn't really support this proposal, but was just trying to win over himself and meant to be close. His support, or the support of the Hyuga clan, could not turn the situation around. They were just pretending. Anyway, it doesn't affect anything, and it doesn't matter if you support it. As the Hyuga clan expressed their support, some ninjas from the small clan attached to the Hyuga clan also raised their hands, but not all of them. Some of them also understood in their hearts, just pretending, this fun is all right. The approval rate quickly went from less than 2% to more than 20%. The energy of the Hyuga family is terrifying, and that's not all. If Hyuga Huyang really wants to pass a proposal, he can at least drive a support rate of more than 35%. And if the Uchiha clan did not block the Hyuga clan, then any proposal put forward by the Hyuga clan would definitely be supported by more than half. Hyuga Huyang, shameless and lowly, flattering cold light, don't even want a face. Danzo scolded in his heart, the approval rate of more than 20% is not low, although the proposal is impossible to pass, but it is not too embarrassing, and lays the groundwork for the next proposal. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at the audience, and because someone hesitated, he raised his hand and said, is there any support? If not. At this moment, Luhan tilted his head, his eyes crossed 7 or 8 people, and fell on Uchiha Lei-Yang's face. Uchiha Lei-Yang felt it, turned his head to look at Luhan, and immediately nodded his head in a vague way, then raised his hand and said, I support it. I think this proposal is very feasible. It can reduce war losses, you can try it. There was an eerie silence in the venue. Many people looked at Uchiha Layong with incredible eyes. The Uchiha clan actually supports Hangwang. Even the ninjas of the Uchiha clan have some understanding, but Uchiha Layong is the clan leader, and he has already said it in the clan. The small and medium tribes of the Uchiha tribe immediately raised their hands. The Master Konoha of the Uchiha tribe has the power of life and death, and has stronger control over the vassal tribes, surpassing the Hyuga tribe's control of the vassals, so those ninjas raised their hands very succinctly. Many people are stunned. What's the situation? The two top Konoha tribes all supported this absurd proposal, to give Hangwang face. Is it too much point? Hyuga Huyang also looked at Uchiha Layong with incomprehensible eyes, and cried out in his heart, damn. The support of the two clans is likely to lead to the passage of this proposal, and Hyuga Huyang does not really support the proposal, but he can no longer express his opposition now. Isn't that a public slap in the face? More and more people are raising their hands. The Uchiha clan and their hardcore vassals all raised their hands, and those vassals of the Hyuga clan who had not raised their hands also raised their hands and had to raise their hands. Otherwise, where would the Hyuga clan's face go? It can't make people feel that the Hyuga family has fewer vassals than Uchiha. A herd effect has been triggered. Some people see the situation as wrong. It seems to be a well-written script. The two top clans expressed their support. The proposal must be approved. You don't support offending people. You support the icing on the cake. Hatake Taishuo next to him with his elbow, tilted his head and said in a low voice, "Give me a face." Hatake Taishuo's face was strange. It was meaningless whether he raised his hand or not, but Luhan had already spoken, so he still had to give face. Hatake Taishuo raised his hand, followed by members of the S group. Jiraiya and Orochimaru raised their hands long ago. They were not optimistic about Tsunade's proposal, and they didn't support it, but they didn't want Tsunade's face to be too ugly, so they raised their hands early, and the current situation was something they never dreamed of. The venue fell into an eerie silence. A group of people raised their hands, and some people were hesitant, but when they saw everyone around them raise their hands, they didn't raise their hands, as if they were aliens. A few large clans except the Hyuga clan and the Uchiha clan, such as the Inuzuka clan and the Aburame clan, they are not vassals of anyone, and they do not need to cling to anyone, but they also raised their hands. Which is what Sarutobi Hiruzen means. However, when more people think of it, the cold light is terrifying energy. The proposal. Tsunade has a high prestige in the village, but it cannot be exchanged for support. But after Hangwang's statement, the situation began to reverse. The Hyuga family expresses their support. Uchiha show support. Part S Hatake Sakumo shows support. Anbu controlled by Hangwang naturally expressed his support. On the podium, Danzo's face was gloomy and terrifying. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. The support rate has exceeded 90%. Chapter 0595_years are silent. Tsunade couldn't even believe that such a result would happen. Her original purpose was just to gain some support, and there were very few people who supported her. Until Luhan made a statement, the situation suddenly reversed. It's like there is a big hand that controls most of the people present. Many people suspect that this is the meaning of Sarutobi Hiruzen, otherwise it would be impossible to gain the support of the two clans, but Tsunade knows that this has nothing to do with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen is against it in private. This is my man, he said this proposal should be passed, it's true. Tsunade looked at Luhan, his eyes sparkling. The silence in the venue continued for a long time. The number of people who finally raised their hands to show their support has exceeded 200 ninjas, with an approval rate of more than 95%. This is a very scary support rate. No proposal has received such high support before. Any proposal is definitely not what the people want. Yes, it is definitely not. If so, should the proposal still be used? A decision is made at any high-level meeting, and there is no need to vote on the proposal. Therefore, although most of the previous proposals have been passed, the highest approval rate is only 80%. Sarutobi Hiruzen has already raised his brows, making it impossible to see what he is thinking. Danzo was going crazy with anger, but he was repressed. There was even a trace of fear in his heart. Cold Light is already a legend. Whether it is now or in the future, he has left a strong legacy in the history of Konoha village. At this time, he is powerful and prestige. It's higher than many high-ranking Konoha figures, and if it continues like this, the consequences are dire for Danzo. Luhan is looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen also looked at Luhan. 4 eyes facing each other. Both eyes were calm. Luhan was wondering if Sarutobi Hiruzen would use a veto. He could do so, but the consequence of doing so would be to publicize the current unfriendly relationship between the two, and Konoha might have some uncontrollable turmoil as a result. Luhan firmly believed that Sarutobi Hiruzen dared not move himself. Because I have done nothing wrong, I have never done anything wrong to Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen is known as the greatest Hokage. He has been promoted to the altar. Standing too high, he can't get down, so he can't move Luhan without reason. It will ruin his reputation. In the past, dirty work, it was Danzo who did it, but Danzo was no longer a threat to Luhan. Proposal passed. Sarutobi Hiruzen announced decisively, no more nonsense. But no one looked at him. They were all looking at Luhan. To be precise, it was Captain Anbu Hongguang. Focus. Tsunade sitting beside Luhan couldn't help but sit up straight, holding Luhan's arm, like a proud peacock. She is not the kind of person who covets fame, but at the moment she is excited, as if she has never been so beautiful, all because of this guy beside her. People, her husband, her man. Cough. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed lightly and said, the next proposal. The meeting continues. One after another idea or plan has been proposed, approved or rejected, and many people have appeared to be in a wrong state and have many worries. The conference went on to 5 o'clock in the afternoon and was about to end. The last 2 proposals are both important and even interesting. The penultimate proposal, proposed by Kaharu Udatane, is called Konoha Birth Plan. In simple terms, it is to urge married Konoha ninjas to give birth. The purpose is for Konoha's future. War will inevitably kill a large number of people. Adulthood. Ninjas die in large numbers, and if there are no descendants, Konoha's future will be finished, and there is nothing more important than descendants. The proposal received 87% support and passed with a high vote. For the next 3 years, Konoha will reward all ninjas who have offspring. Hatake Kakashi, Ueni Rin, Might Guy, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi are all born around 34 years of Konoha. Could it be because of this plan? Luhan thought. This guy is Sarutobi Hiruzen's youngest son. Sarutobi Hiruzen was only in his 40s, and Sarutobi Bawako was in his 40s, so he was considered an advanced mother when he gave birth. The last proposal, proposed by Hyuga Huyang, adjusts the expenditures of major tribes. Simply put, cut back. Hyuga Huyang first took the initiative to reduce the funds given to the Hyuga clan by Konoha, and also hoped that the village would reduce the funds given to the tribes and use the remaining money for the war. This means that the major tribes take less money from the village, spend less on the village, and spend more on their own. The proposal is very offensive. Luhan wanted to come to this proposal, which was Hokage's will. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't reject Tsunade's proposal before. As Anbu's captain, he naturally had to show his support for the face, but he didn't let the Uchiha clan come along with him. In the end, the proposal narrowly passed with 52% approval after a period of controversy. The conference is over. Time flows like water, and the years are silent. 2.5 years later. 35 years of Konoha, April. The past 2 years, many major events have happened in the ninja world. For example, Hatake Tsukumo's identity has completely changed from darkness to light, and his identity as the original captain of Konoha Anbu has also been known to the world. The name spreads all over the world. The Kumogakure village in the Land of Thunder invaded the Land of Earth in February of the 33rd month of Konoha. It took 4 months for Sunagakure village in the Land of Earth to recover the lost land, but was dragged down by the war in the Land of Rain and was unable to counterattack. The Sunagakure Corps was repeatedly hit hard on the battlefield of the Land of Rain, losing to Konoha in 6 large-scale battles. The third-generation Kazekage once sent a peace messenger to Konoha, but the request for peace was rejected. Because of the rumors of Sunagakure's request for peace, Hanzo was dissatisfied, and the alliance between Sunagakure and Omegakure was cracked. The Ninja World War, which has lasted for more than 3 years, is still going on, and the entire ninja world is riddled with holes. After 3 years, Luhan has not left Konoha village for half a step. Luhan's home, a warehouse-like indoor training ground. Boom! A thunderous explosion suddenly resounded through most of the Konoha, and the flames ripped through the training ground into the sky, and thick smoke billowed. The whole Konoha was shaken. Chapter 0596 The kitchen is a great place. Outside of Hangwang's house, in all directions, figures appeared on the roofs of many high-rise residential buildings. They looked at the billowing smoke from Hangwang's house, but they did not panic. They knew that this was not someone who attacked Hangwang's house. Just get used to it. Master Hangwang's strength has improved again and again. It's a terrifying talent. It has been growing for a few years and has not stopped growing. Yeah, according to legend, after the last time the practice field in Lord Hangwang's house was broken, Lord Hokage was asked to personally strengthen it with a seal. Unexpectedly, it was broken. Just learning from the clone is so destructive. If it is really fighting with life and death, I don't know how much damage it will cause. Speaking of Hangwang, the senior ninjas standing on the tall buildings were full of awe. Hangwang hadn't made a move for a long time, and he rarely saw anyone. But the growth of Hangwang's strength is well known. This is not the first time that Hangwang has caused damage to the surroundings during the cultivation process. The first few times even disturbed the entire Konoha. All the strong Konohas rushed to the scene of the incident, which almost caused confusion. Whoever does not have eyes dares to trouble Hangwang. All the disturbances in his house are caused by himself. Cold Light Home. The flames have ripped apart the huge warehouse-style training ground, and the surrounding ground has also been greatly affected. Fortunately, it is far away from the main building, otherwise his entire home will be destroyed. In the ruins, the 17-year-old Luhan looked at the faceless man opposite him with a dark expression on his face. Naturally, he made such a big move by discussing with the faceless man. After adding up to nearly 3 years of concentrated practice, as early as half a year ago, he was able to defeat the 60-level gold boss-level faceless man with sword skills. After that, he unlocked the ability of the faceless man. Only Sharingan and Hiraishin were not available, and the faceless man was copied. His ability, no matter how strong he grows, as long as he does not enter the 70th level, the faceless man will not be weaker than him. Luhan is not to blame for what happened today. It was originally a ninjutsu battle with the faceless, and this house was bearable. But the faceless man, who is skilled in strategy, actually put Luhan in the ditch again, and released Kaden Fire Style and Raiden Thunder Style in succession, causing a chain explosion, which could not even withstand the seal imposed by Sarutobi Hiruzen himself. You bastard! 2 figures appeared on the edge of the ruins, one large and one small, 2 graceful women, but it was Tsunade and Hyuga Luoning. The one who cursed was Tsunade. She was about to be mad, and her face was full of anger. How many times have you said it? Don't practice at home. Don't be at home. Why don't you listen? The back mountain forest isn't enough for you to toss around. Tsunade held the cooking shovel in his hand and gestured excitedly. Right. In the ruins, the gray-faced Luhan was covered in blood and looked badly injured, but Tsunade didn't care at all. She was not used to it, but was already numb. Hyuga Luoning was tearful and felt sorry for Luhan, but Tsunade was training Luhan, and she didn't dare to speak. Luhan looked innocent, looked at the faceless man, then looked at Tsunade, and said with a shy smile, isn't this going to be lunch? I just thought, just practice, I didn't expect. Tsunade was so angry that he was almost out of breath. He turned around and left, ignoring Luhan again. Luhan demolished the house every 3 days, and no one could stand it. Luhan was helpless and waved his hand away to put away the faceless man. At present, many people in Konoha already know about the existence of the faceless man, but they are all wrong. The faceless man looks exactly the same as Luhan, only the skin color and face are different, and he has all the abilities of Luhan. Luhan put a mask on him. After the gloves, even Tsunade can't tell the difference between him and Luhan. You know, the faceless man has no face, but as long as he turns on Sharingan, he has eyes. Therefore, everyone now believes that the faceless man is Luhan's clone. Luhan also made up a lie, saying that he developed a special clone ninjutsu for training. Luhan walked out of the ruins. Hyuga Luoning immediately took out a handkerchief and wiped the dust and blood on Luhan's face. 18-year-old Hyuga Luoning's body is much plumper, thanks to Luhan's hands, and the areas that are not big enough are developed. She looks so distressed and tears in her eyes. She has been married to Luhan for 3 years, no matter what. She would not object to what Luhan did, unlike Tsunade who dared to pull Luhan's ears. Okay, it's okay, I'll go take a shower. Luhan wiped Hyuga Luoning's tears, but because her hands were too dirty, Hyuga Luoning's face was also stained. The two entered the Wen Izumi bathhouse next to the main building. There was no Wen Izumi here, but Luhan used ninjutsu to change the underground and created it. After soaking in the pool, Luhan let out a sigh of relief. Hyuga Luoning also took off her clothes and went into the water. She just wanted to wipe Luhan's body, but she saw that Luhan's eyes were hot. This bath took a full half an hour. Izumi's bathhouse dressed neatly. Hyuga Luoning's cheeks were flushed, and her walking posture was strange. She was no longer a bride, but Luhan was too strong, so it would bring her some inconvenience every time. Back in the main building, Tsunade was still busy in the kitchen, getting angry, and the meal was still to be done. I'm really angry, so I won't try to persuade. Hyuga Luoning pointed to the kitchen door, but she ducked back and didn't dare to go in. My dear, I'm really angry. Luhan shouted a bit mean, super numb, and when he entered the kitchen, he hugged Tsunade's waist from behind. The meat knife was put down. I promise there won't be another time. Come, kiss one, don't be angry. Luhan's hands began to be dishonest. Oops, what are you doing? Go away, let go, don't be like this. Cold, Kushina is coming back. It's bad if she hears it, can't be here. It's noon, I'm cooking. Tsunade was still stubborn at first, but then it was over, softly begging for mercy, but Luhan didn't let her go. The kitchen is a great place. Quite interesting. Hyuga Luoning listened outside, his face became more and more yuhi, and he spat secretly. Chapter 0597_shame. Hyuga Luoning's legs were still weak. When she heard the sound of panting coming from the kitchen, she scolded, pervert, secretly, and Yuhi ran out of the main building with a face. She had to go outside to guard. Usually this is the place no outsiders will come, but Uzumaki Kushina will come back for lunch at noon. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, the little girl in a capable ninja suit appeared in the yard with a whirlwind. Uzumaki Kushina is already 10 years old. After her birthday in July this year, she will be 11 years old. In fact, she is no longer a little girl. It was her hair, the long yuhi-colored hair was draped down to the waist, and it looked very beautiful when the wind blew. Sister Luoning, you're exhausted, what's there to eat today? Kushina looked tired and walked into the room. The practice room over there was in ruins. She saw it, but she didn't think it was strange, so she didn't ask any more questions. Hyuga Luoning hurriedly stopped her, and her thoughts changed. Go take a shower, you sweat so much, your body stinks to death. As he spoke, he tapped Kushina twice on the shoulder. Don't worry, don't bother, I still have tasks in the afternoon, I want to eat. Kushina begged, but she was dragged by Hyuga Luoning to Wen Izumi's house. She dared not let Kushina enter the house, she was too young, those messy things can't let her know. Bad man, he knew that Kushina would come back, but he still messed up. Hyuga Luoning scolded Lu Han for a while, dragging Kushina, and diligently gave Kushina a bath for half an hour, until Kushina protested. Hyuga Luoning allowed her to climb out of the pool. When the two dressed up and returned to the main building, the battle between Lu Han and Tsunade was over, the food has also been put on the table. In fact, when Kushina came back, Lu Han felt it, so he accelerated the progress. Tsunade's face is still Yuhi's. The fine sweat on his forehead has not been wiped off, and he will pinch his Lu Han's waist from time to time. Kushina has always been a big kid. In fact, she already understands some things, but she can't say anything. Her eyes are rolling around, looking around, as if she is watching Lu Han's jokes. Cough, eat. Lu Han coughed lightly and took up his rice bowl. Tsunade quietly twisted under Lu Han's waist again before he took up his rice bowl. Although his movements were hidden, Kushina still saw him, and she snickered. Lu Han smiled helplessly. In fact, he didn't want to act nonsense in broad daylight, regardless of the occasion or location. He had no choice but to be anxious. Actually, Tsunade and Hyuga Luoning knew the reason, but they didn't dare to say it outright, for fear of hurting Lu Han. 3 years. Hatake Sakumo got married when Konoha was 33 years old. He married a ninja from the S department. Might Dai also got married in the same year and married Anbu ninja. In recent years, Konoha has married a lot of ninjas, and the number of marriages much higher than in previous years. The reason is that in response to the call of the Konoha birth plan, Sarutobi Hiruzen urged the younger generation of Konoha ninjas to get married and encouraged to have children for the future of Konoha, and even he and Sarutobi Bawako also gave birth to a child. Is Sarutobi Asuma Hatake Sakumo's son, born in Konoha Sanshi 4 years, is named Hatake Kakashi. Might Dai's son, also born last year, is named Might Guy. Now, they are still little babies less than 1 year old. Lu Han was very melancholy. Everyone who should be married is married, and everyone who should have a son has a son, but Lu Han has no children. Tsunade and Hyuga Luoning's stomachs have never moved. Lu Han dares to swear, he is really exhausted, but it is don't let them get pregnant. Shame. Lord Han Guang is infertile, has long been a topic of conversation among the senior ninjas in the village in their spare time. No one doubts Tsunade and Hyuga Luoning, because it is not that one is not pregnant, but both are not pregnant. The eighth problem is that Han Guang is responsible. For this reason, the grandmother of the Hyuga family also brought Hyuga Luoning back, saying that it was an inspection. Sarutobi Hiruzen also talked to Lu Han, of course, to comfort Lu Han, and said some things. You, Ri's still young, you get married at the age of 14, you can't give birth to normal, and so on. All bullshit. In the Sengoku era, people who became fathers at the age of 13 or 14 were everywhere, and it was not a matter of age at all. No one has looked for Tsunade, and no one dared to say this in front of Tsunade. The reason is that Tsunade is a medical ninja. In the past few years, he has repeatedly cracked the poison configured by Chiyo on the battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain. The name of the medical saint has been passed down. In the world of ninja, Tsunade can't solve things by himself, so he can't count on anyone. Second, Tsunade's bad temper is well known, and no one dares to chew his tongue in front of Tsunade. Lu Han felt bitter. He knew better than anyone else that the problem lay in himself. Elf, is it true that I can't have offspring? Could it be that I can't have children in this world? Lu Han couldn't remember how many times he asked the elves about this question. The elf's answer every time is, the special body does make it difficult for the subversive to have offspring, but it is not absolute. It is just a small probability. Lu Han can have offspring, but the probability of getting the woman pregnant is low. In other words, he has to work harder. In fact, if Lu Han can marry 100 wives, he is guaranteed to get pregnant within a year, but he can't do that, so he can only work harder on his 2 wives now, which is why he acts irresponsibly regardless of the occasion and time. Reason. After lunch, Anbu Ninja came to report, Hokage summoned. Hokage building, Hokage office. A few years later, Sarutobi Hiruzen looks a lot older. This ninja war has made him exhausted, and he is setting an example for Konoha in every aspect, even when it comes to having children. Look at this. Seeing Lu Han coming, Sarutobi Hiruzen threw a scroll to Lu Han. Lu Han took it and looked at it, then frowned and raised his head. Visit the Land of Thunder. This is a plan to visit the Land of Thunder. Yeah, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. I'm going to let you go to Kumogakure village, the Land of Thunder, on my behalf. Lu Han was taken aback. It's been 3 years. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally gave him a mission to go out. Chapter 0598_Negotiation Tasks. For 3 years, Lu Han did not leave Konoha. It wasn't because he didn't want to leave. With his identity and strength, he wanted to go out. Sarutobi Hiruzen would definitely allow it unless he wanted to turn against him. Lu Han just didn't want to go out. That's it, because he hasn't completely defeated the Faceless Man yet. Now his strength is basically the invincible existence of the 60-level Golden Boss, and it is not a problem to challenge level 70. In other words, his strength is not far from Sarutobi Hiruzen. In fact, he really wanted to go out on a mission after he had the same strength as Sarutobi Hiruzen. In this way, whether he kills Kazekage, the most powerful 3rd generation in the legend, or kills demigod Hanzo, or kills Onoki, it is enough for him to have the prestige to compete for the position of Hokage. Thinking of these, Lu Han is a little fortunate. Fortunately, the Second Ninja World War was not an era of pervert. Senju Hashirama has long since died, and the old man Uchiha Madara can only rely on Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, to hang his breath. After all, Konan, Nagato and others are still young children and are still wandering. Uchiha Obito was born last year. Uchiha Itachi is still a genetic chain in someone's calf, not to mention the 2 main protagonists of the original novel, Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. It is still a question whether they will be born safely, because their mothers are all related to Lu Han. Lu Han sighed that he was also waiting. Unexpectedly, the task came so suddenly. Moreover, this task is of great importance, and it is difficult for Lu Han to refuse. Lord Hokage finally let me out. Lu Han didn't wear a mask, his smile was a little strange. Humph. Sarutobi Hiruzen snorted coldly, without explaining. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw Lu Han's growth in his eyes. He no longer dared to regard Lu Han as a boy who could be needed at will, but Sarutobi Hiruzen did not think Lu Han was a threat. Perhaps because Lu Han has been too honest in recent years, he thought that Lu Han's heart had been settled, and he had receded from the arrogance of the year and became calm. He hadn't noticed what Lu Han was planning. If he knew now, maybe he would slap Lu Han to death, so as to avoid future troubles. Why didn't Lord Hokage go in person? If it was me, wouldn't they think they didn't take it seriously enough? Lu Han looked at the content on the scroll and said, the mission of visiting the Land of Thunder has 2 purposes. One is to communicate with Kumogakure. The village has an indefinite truce, and the second is to mediate the war between Kumogakure village and Iwagakure village, so that the Land of Earth can concentrate its strength and fully respond to the war in the Land of Rain. Do you think they don't know who you are? Every time you practice, you make such a big noise, for fear that others won't know that your strength has improved, huh? Sarutobi Hiruzen said angrily, although you haven't been outside for a few years to perform tasks, but on the assassination lists of the other 4 major countries, your name is always ranked first. Konoha Anbu Captain Han Guang, the heir to the position of Hokage, only 17 years old. Ha! Quote. Regarding the Age of Cold Light, it is no longer a secret to the high-level leaders of the major forces in other countries. Because Hanzo knew that he hated Lu Han to death, so naturally he would release the news. The Cold Light has been dormant for several years, but the reputation has not diminished, but a layer of mystery has been added. Lord Hokage, can we talk properly? When did you say that you would let me inherit the position of Hokage? When did I say that I wanted to be the next generation of Hokage? It's all rumors. Rumors are not credible. It's a tactic to sow discord. Lord Hokage, don't be fooled. Having said this, Luhan didn't feel how shameless at all. Stop talking nonsense. Sarutobi Hiruzen got up and walked to the window with his hands behind his back. Actually, it's not that I don't want to go to the Land of Thunder. Although Kumogakure village is a Longtan tiger den, it's not too dangerous for me, but I can't solve it if I go there. Any questions? You also know that I have played against each other 6 times in the past few years, and there is no winner. He is a madman who wants to beat everyone in the world. If I go to Kumogakure village, he will probably end up with a duel as a requirement, a condition of negotiation. Quote. So I can't go. Although I won't lose to him, it's hard to beat him. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned to look at Luhan, but you are different, you are young, you are a junior, you represent me, but you don't have my strength. If I still wants to face, he won't trouble you, you just need to try to persuade them in the most normal diplomatic way. What Sarutobi Hiruzen said is well-founded, and he also made a decision after considering it for a long time. Kumogakure village is really dangerous. I still remember that more than 20 years ago, the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobarama went to the Land of Thunder to negotiate an alliance, but an accident happened. Senju Tobarama died, and second-generation Raikage also died. A blood feud has been committed, and this diplomacy is like history repeating itself. If you are not careful, it may repeat the same mistakes. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind, Han Guang was the most suitable candidate to go to the Land of Thunder, no one else. Because the cold light is strong enough. Although Hatake Sakumo has been going hand in hand with Hengguang in recent years, his strength is not weaker than Hengguang, but he is too soft-hearted, not cold-hearted, and his too restrained style is not suitable for negotiation. This is where Sarutobi Hiruzen is disappointed with Hatake Sakumo. Half a year ago, in order to rescue a large group of Konoha ninjas under siege, Hatake Sakumo exposed their whereabouts and made the other party take precautions, which eventually led to the failure of the task of stealing intelligence, which Sarutobi Hiruzen could not tolerate. He is very disappointed. If such a person goes to negotiate, as long as the other party threatens to use the lives of some people, he will lose the initiative. But Han Guang is different, not that he is cold-blooded and ruthless, but that this guy is simply daring. Dare to do anything. Do you understand? As long as you complete the negotiation with the Kingdom of Thunder, you will be the biggest contributor to ending this ninja war. Your fame will reach a new height, isn't that what you think? Lord Hokage is really well-intentioned. You don't have yin and yang anger there. I know, you have resentment in your heart. Right or wrong, you and I can't tell right now, but time waits for no one. If the negotiation is completed one day earlier, the war can be ended sooner, don't you understand? Don't shout, I'll just go. Luhan put the scroll in his arms, however, I have to choose a few people to take with me. Chapter 0599 White Zetsu, Madara, Black Zetsu, Hanzo. Normally, if Luhan travels on behalf of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the entourage should be decided by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Diplomatic etiquette is still required, and there may even be high-level officials from Konoha. As the captain of Anbu, Luhan can only bring his own people. It was Anbu's. He said that he would choose a few people, but of course they were not from Anbu. You can choose anyone. If you want to choose the one in the outbound mission, you may have to wait a few days. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Hatake Tai Shuo, Luhan said immediately. Okay. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Naturally he wouldn't embarrass Luhan about this kind of thing, I'll have someone inform him. Hatake Tai Shuo is a member of S Division and follows White Fang all the time when he is out on a mission. After leaving the Hokage building, the sun was just in the west. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Luhan went to the west of Konoha village to have a look. Naturally, he would not patrol the village in person, just to see Uzumaki Kushina. In the original book, Uzumaki Kushina graduated from the ninja school at the age of 10, but in this world, with Luhan's personal teaching and supervision, Uzumaki Kushina graduated from the ninja school before the age of 9, and now she is about 11 years old. She is already Chunin, so absolute genius. Currently, Uzumaki Kushina is serving in the garrison. She usually patrols around the village. It is impossible for her to enter the battlefield, because she is a Jinchuriki column force from Kyubi, 9 tails, and her strength is not strong enough. Accidentally, that would really be a disaster. It's not without reason that Luhan went to see Kushina's patrol. Because it was recorded in the original book that she was kidnapped after graduating from the ninja school. Kumogakure village, the land of thunder, was having a headache trying to control the 8 tails, so she took her away and wanted to take her back to study. In the original book, she graduated at the age of 10. She was arrested after graduation, that is to say, she was arrested by Kumogakure village this year. It's incredible, and I don't know how Kumogakure did it. So Luhan had nothing to do and went around Kushina. Seeing Kushina, Luhan returned to the mountain behind Konoha. Instead of going to the Anbu station, he took the opposite route to a forest next to a large lake. Come out, Luhan said hoarsely. A big tree on the side immediately grew leaves and a white body. White Zetsu. Be precise, it is the clone of White Zetsu. Luhan got in touch with Uchiha Madara 3 years ago. After that, Uchiha Madara wanted to see him all the time, but the old guy refused to come to the village in person. He always urged Luhan to go out to meet him. Not to mention the danger of life, even if something uncontrollable happens, Luhan will not be able to say it. Luhan once mentioned to White Zetsu that he should keep a clone in Konoha for easy contact. Uchiha Madara agreed to this matter. At this time, the clone that appeared on the tree next to him had been hiding in the back mountain for 3 years. According to Luhan's request, he could not walk around. He really had no need to walk around. If you agree, you can't if you don't agree, otherwise Luhan will definitely kill him. In half a month, I will leave Konoha, and then I will. Luhan briefly repeated the plan. You go to inform, there are not many opportunities like this. If it is not necessary, I do not want to be with him. See you. White Zetsu said nothing and retreated into the trees, and the insight map showed that he was gone. A day later, somewhere in the country of fire, in an empty and huge underground cave, 4 large braziers with a diameter of several meters were suspended at the 4 corners of the cave, and dim light enveloped the entire cave. The white-haired old man sat cross-legged on the futon, with his hands on his knees, his eyes closed, as if he was dead and motionless. Right in front, on the moss-covered stone wall, half a white man suddenly grew. He only heard him say, he will leave Konoha in half a month, and he will be in the northern part of the country of fire. White Zetsu explained the details again. The extremely old Uchiha Madara seemed to be breathing suddenly, his chest began to rise and fall, and he said hoarsely, is he finally willing to come out? Hiding in the Konoha village for several years, what does he know? Is he afraid of me? Why not? Without the protection of Sarutobi Hiruzen, he dared to come out. His voice became deeper and deeper, as if he was talking to himself, and his voice gradually disappeared. It's been a while. Notify Hanzo, Uchiha Madara said. Yes. White Zetsu took the lead, retreating into the wall and disappearing. The land of rain, this small country that was used as the core battlefield, has been devastated by years of war, and has become a hell on earth. The ghostly hungry people would scuffle and even bite each other for a rice ball of miscellaneous grains, like wild animals in the forest. A high mountain, the north side of the mountain is a cliff, which hangs down like a knife, and there is another cave above the cliff. The vines hang down from above, and the cave is covered by 7 or 8, which is extremely hidden. Black Zetsu stood at the entrance of the cave, looking at the village burning with flames in the distance. The corners of his mouth evoked a cold arc. He is satisfied. In this troubled world, he has a share of the credit. No one has done more than him. He pretended to be an Omegakure ninja to kill Sunagakure ninjas, pretended to be Konoha ninjas to kill Iwagakure ninjas, killing people and provoking everywhere. There is no strength to go to the 5 major ninja villages to pull Kiba from the tiger's mouth, so they have to kill each other and let them weaken each other's strength. When they use the tailed beasts to participate in the war, Black Zetsu firmly believes that the glory of God will shine on this land again. Damn it, he's finally willing to come out, wait until Hanzo kills him, and let the news spread throughout the ninja world, then. Hey, Black Zetsu muttered coldly, took a few steps back, and gradually disappeared into the darkness. Abandoned mine at night. It's you again. Hanzo looked at the dark figure opposite the magma pool, his eyes full of coldness. What's the matter this time? You dared to play with me last time. I haven't bothered you yet. You dare to come to me. He's leaving Konoha. I guess he has a mission. Black Zetsu said. I didn't expect him to hide in Konoha village for 3 years. This time he comes out, I'll give you a plan. You kill him. Commission 150 million. Chapter 0600_crazy idea. 150 million. Is he worth so much? Hanzo had doubts after giving too much money. He always felt that there was a conspiracy, but the investigation could not lead to results. It doesn't matter if he is worth it or not. What matters is that I am willing to give so much. According to our black market information, Hengwang is the most talented ninja since the establishment of the 5 kingdoms. There is no one. Black Zetsu praised the landing without hesitation. Han. He knew, the harder the blow, the more Hanzo wanted to kill him. He is a threat, not only to you, but also to the entire ninja world. It's a pity that you didn't catch up with the era of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. If you have experienced that era, and you understand how terrible it is to have such a person. Quote. Is he also a threat to your black market? Hanzo asked. Black Zetsu didn't answer, just said, 150 million taels. I can pay you a deposit of 50 million taels first. After the completion of the matter, the remaining 100 million taels will be sent directly to a Omegakure village. As long as you agree, I will immediately give money. I agree. The fool refused. He had a grudge against Hongguang, and he would kill him if he didn't give him money, let alone give him money. That's good, Black Zetsu said. Get ready, I'll let you know when he leaves Konoha village. Konoha village, deep in Anbu station. In the training ground, the 2 figures were as fast as ghosts, only a mass of light and shadow was left, and there was not much entanglement. As you came and went, the knife light was sometimes like a thunderbolt, and sometimes it converged like still water. It was completely filled, and there was no gap to avoid, but the flames were suddenly torn apart, and the sword named Jing Hong seemed to be pulling the space to pieces and slashing at the man in front of him, but the figure was illusory, and he was clearly about to be stabbed to the point. But when the phantom opened and closed, twisted to avoid it, then pinched the seal with one hand, divided it into 9, and launched a violent counterattack. The blood splashed, and a large amount of clean water fell, extinguishing the flames, like petals flying, and 10,000 wind blades swept around like a storm. He heard, ding ding, there was nothing left. The man with the knife turned the shadow of the knife into a barrier to resist the attacks of thousands of wind blades. It was still difficult to be airtight. Stop. Lu Han couldn't take it anymore and couldn't help shouting. The faceless man immediately stopped releasing the flower and rain cutting technique, and stood up when he received it, like a dead thing. Fuck, it's really not something that people can do. Lu Han was seriously injured, and even his bones were broken by the wind blade. He took out a big Yuhi bottle and took it. He lost this game. In fact, in the last 100 faceless fights, he has never won. It's not that he can't win, but he has a crazy idea. He wants to know where the limit of swordsmanship is, so he delusionally defends the S-level futon, wind-style, forbidden technique flower rain cutting technique with swordsmanship. If anyone knew that he did this, even Sarutobi Hiruzen would definitely think he was crazy. This is impossible at all. As we all know, Lu Han knows how violent the Wyu cutting technique is. Back then during the chaos in the back mountains, he killed the entire Uchiha Patriarch's guard with this technique in his breath. However, the extremely elite ninja squadron composed of a group of elite Jonin and super elite Jonin was instantly killed by Luhan. This technique will release countless wind blades in all directions at the same time. At the same time, hundreds of wind blades will hit and attack the human body. This is because the human body is too small. If it is larger, it will suffer thousands of wind blades. Attack. A sword is not a shield. Using a sword as a shield requires extremely terrifying frequency of swinging the sword, with hundreds of knives in one breath. Luhan has already done it, and he is still pursuing to be stronger. And now, he can hold on for a few seconds under the attack of the flower rain cutting technique. After this time, he will slow down his swinging speed due to the arm soreness, and a wind blade will hit him like a fish slipping through the net. Luhan felt that there should be no second person in this world, so he could take the art of cutting flowers and rain, but not Sarutobi Hiruzen. Even the third generation Hokage I had to get a thunder shield armor to try to resist the first resistance. I don't know, how does my swordsmanship compare to Hanzo? Luhan thought. He understands that even if his swordsmanship is no worse than Hanzo, it does not mean that he can defeat Hanzo, because Hanzo and White Fang are not pure swordsmanship ninjas. They are both half ninja and half ninjas. However, Luhan is not a knife either. Jutsu ninja, it can even be said that swordsmanship has never been his main ability, he just relies on swordsmanship to break the bottleneck. A few years, he has made terrible progress not only in swordsmanship, but also in ninjutsu. Kaden, Fire Style, Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation. He was abruptly trained to LV9. You know, Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation is the top A-level Kaden, Fire Style. The power of the LV9 Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation is enough to surpass most S-level Kadens, Fire Style, but the chakra consumption is too high. Captain, Hitaki Sakumo asks to see you. A respectful voice sounded from outside the cave. Oh, are you back? Luhan replied, I see. Hitaki Sakumo is back, and it's time for him to hit the land of thunder. In the root station, in the cave full of curse marks, the figure in the blood robe was locked in front of the metal Jinchuriki column. Senju Senro. The deadline is approaching. The forces of Yin-dun and Yang-dun are colliding more and more fiercely in his body. Since both forces are foreign, he has no ability to control these two forces. Now, he is already on the verge of death. The last time he fell into the madness lasted for 9 months, and he just woke up for less than a month. It is estimated that in another month, he will fall into madness again. At that time, it will be his death. I have said to Hokage, you are dead, you are now in Konoha, a non-existent person. I forged your ashes with your blood, and everyone in this world thinks you are dead except me dead. Danzo walked slowly into the cave. What do you want me to do? Senluo raised his head to look at Danzo. The pair of bewitching Yuhi pupils were bloodshot. One last task for you. Danzo stood in front of Senluo with his hands behind his back. His eyes were cold. Cold light is about to leave Konoha. You go and kill him. As long as you do it, I promise, you will raise your son to adulthood. Chapter 0601_official visit. My son. Senju Senrao's voice was hoarse like metal friction, in a low voice, with endless pain. Where's his mother? You killed her with your own hands when you were crazy, did you forget? Danzo's voice was full of blood. She thought she could appease you, ridiculous woman. Danzo smiled a little smugly. He even admired himself a little. The plan was perfect. Danzo knew very well that although he could kill Senju Senluo at any time, as Senluo's condition became more and more serious, his fear of death became less and less, so he made another arrangement and gave Senju Senluo as a woman, the female ninja from the roots, who is ignorant of everything, and Senju Senluo, who is crazy, doesn't seem to have much interest in her, but he can't stop the fate of falling in love over time and attracting opposite sexes. A year ago, that female ninja gave Senju Senra a son, a very healthy baby. Half a year ago, the crazy Senju Senro killed the ninja who gave birth to him with his own hands. Now, that child is Senju's only concern. I want to see him. Senju Senluo said. Danzo raised his hand behind him. In the dark passage behind him, a female ninja wearing a ninja costume with a face and a mask came out with a baby who was just 1 year old in his arms. The baby seemed to be asleep, breathing evenly, and subconsciously sucking his thumb. Senju Senro can feel that this is his own child, his own blood. He glanced at it from a distance, then withdrew his gaze. I'll get the job done, I'll kill him, hope you keep your promise. 35 years of Konoha, April 18th. Han Guang, the captain of Konoha Anbu, led a delegation of 16 senior ninjas to leave Konoha village and officially visit Kumogakure village, the land of thunder. When it was light, he quietly left Konoha. In the morning, the northern part of the country of fire. In the vast forest, the trees cover the sky and the sun, and the huge canopy is connected into one piece, covering the sun, and the forest is dark. Call. A black-robed figure with an icy aura appeared out of thin air on the bluestone in the forest. Looking around, more than 10 figures appeared around the black-robed figure, either appearing out of thin air or jumping from a tree. One of the sturdy young ninjas with a sickle on his back also appeared above the bluestone, standing beside the black-robed figure. Teacher. Hataki Taishuo whispered. His weapon at this time is the Kurigakure blade, which Lu Han gave him 2 years ago. He seems to be more talented in the use of sickles than short swords, according to the strength level determined by Lu Han. The standard, at this time his strength, has stepped into the cage level. Lu Han looked around. He was not sure whether White Zetsu was nearby, because if White Zetsu was hidden underground, the insight map could not detect it. It's all right, let's go. Lu Han didn't find White Zetsu and continued on his way. He has a good habit of using the insight map. As long as he is in the wild, he will open the insight map every few seconds, but this is not very useful to White Zetsu. If White Zetsu is tracking, he can hide all the time. In the ground, he moved with the help of groundwater flow, grass roots and other organic matter, and he should return to the ground to observe from time to time. This is the reason why Lu Han stopped to observe. Not long after Lu Han took the people away. In the grass next to the bluestone, 2 large leaves spread out, and the white body stretched out, staring at the direction where Lu Han and others were leaving. For 3 years, after careful calculations, he concluded that the perception range of cold light was a radius of 5 kilometers, while now, Han Guang and others are already 5 kilometers away. With so many people, it seems that we can't make a sneak attack. We can only do it when we meet. White Zetsu thought. Call. Shadow of blood descended into the sky, as fast as lightning, like a ghost, and fell behind White Zetsu. The cold aura immediately enveloped White Zetsu. Under the fat kabuto hat, his pale face was close to White Zetsu's ear, horse-like metal friction. Then the voice sounded, "Are you following him?" White Zetsu was horrified. She shrunk down sharply and disappeared into the bushes. Senluo was suspended half a meter above the ground. Yuhi, the binocular orangutan, had a morbid smile on his face. "Come out, I know you are still here," Senluo said. Dozens of meters away, White Zetsu leaned out of the tree and looked at Senju Senluo vigilantly. He saw Senju Senluo's Sharingan, and he knew the pair of Sharingan. During the First Ninja War, a ninja named Uchiha Kagami once owned this pair of Mangekyo. "Are you following Han Guang?" Senju Senluo asked again. White Zetsu didn't answer, and withdrew into the tree. This time he really walked away, escaping far away. "It's boring," Senju murmured, then turned into a bloody lightning that flew high into the sky. After half a day. Night. The northern part of the Fire Nation, near the Little Leaf Forest, by the lake. The bonfire was burning extremely vigorously, and the smoke was billowing into the sky. It stands to reason that the traces should be hidden during the war, but for the visiting embassy led by Lu Han, there is no need to do so. In the country of fire, nothing will make them fear, there is no need to hide. Might Dai dragged a long wood with a thick bowl mouth, and on the wood was a whole wild boar. He slowly turned the long wood and roasted the wild boar on the fire. The others were also holding food in their hands. Compared to Dai's food, they are all small and pitiful. Dai, have you finished eating? Would you like me to eat some for you? Hitoki Taishuo laughed. He was Lu Han's disciple, and Might Dai was Lu Han's entourage. Not good. Might Dai gave Hitoki Taishuo a very vigilant look, and sat away for a while, as if to guard against thieves. Taijutsu ninjas eat a lot. Lu Han was biting the grilled fish and seemed a little absent-minded. In this visit, the two strongest ninjas who accompanied him were Hitoki Taishuo and Might Dai. Both of them have cage-level strength. Might Dai has the ability to explode in a short period of time. Even surpassing Hitoki Taishuo, it still made Lu Han feel uneasy. From Konoha, the stronger the bad feeling. Yuhi's spot finally appeared on the insight map. It's White Zetsu. You guys stay here, don't leave, I'll come when I go. Lu Han put down the grilled fish and disappeared immediately. Chapter 0602 Yuhi named Senluo. Why? Hitoki Taishuo wanted to ask what happened, but Lu Han had already left. He and Might Dai looked at each other. Might Dai immediately said, "Watch out." Several of the entourage were from Anbu, and when they heard Might Dai's words, they dispersed and set up guards around. Might Dai also got up, tore the pig's leg from the roasted wild boar, bit it and walked to the lake, looking around. Look around. What do you feel? Hitoki Taishuo asked as he walked over to Might Dai. Might Dai shook his head and paused. Captain must have found something. ... A few kilometers to the south, in the dark forest, Lu Han appeared out of thin air. White Zetsu then appeared in the bushes, his eyes gleaming slightly under the night. Tomorrow afternoon, in the end of the valley. White Zetsu said quickly, you can only go there alone. If other people go with you, Madara-sama won't see you, so don't play tricks. Regarding Han Guang's meeting with Uchiha Madara, he expressed very cautious. I should have said this. Don't play tricks, it's not good for anyone. Lu Han glanced at White Zetsu. Tell Uchiha Madara my warning. Humph. White Zetsu snorted coldly and disappeared into the grass. This is White Zetsu's body, not a clone. After White Zetsu left, Lu Han also began to return to the lake, but stopped after he moved less than a kilometer. Another Yuhi point appeared on the insight map, the big Yuhi point. The Chaotic Death Seeker level 60 White Silver boss Senju Senluo. Senluo, how could that be? Lu Han's face was shocked. He wasn't shocked by Senju's strength, but he didn't understand why he became Yuhi. The silver plate hung high in the sky. Before the moonlight, the figure of the blood-robed robe was suspended in the sky. Although it was far away, Lu Han could still see it clearly. Call. Bloody Yuhi-colored lightning galloped, extremely blurry in the night, as if in a breath. Senju Senluo appeared in front of Lu Han, still in a suspended posture, with his feet half a meter from the ground, hunched over, bowed his head and used the orangutan Yuhi. His eyes stared at Lu Han. The two are very close. Lu Han's hand was already on the hilt of the knife, but he didn't do anything. This was the first time he hesitated and didn't do anything to the big Yuhi name who showed his level. Senju Senluo didn't do anything either. What happened? Lu Han asked in a deep voice. Danzo asked me to kill you. My son is in his hands. I only have 1 month left to live. Senju Senluo seems to have never been so awake. He put a lot of pressure on Lu Han. You know, Senju Senluo, his strength is higher than his own level. This guy has an abnormal brain and a problem with his combat strategy, so his rating is always low. He has 1 month left to live. This shows that this battle will be his last battle. He can work hard. In fact, he came with the idea of perishing together. It's not that the green name cannot be changed, it's just extremely difficult. It was like, if Tsunade gave birth to a child to Lu Han, and Lu Han strangled the child in front of Tsunade, Tsunade would definitely change from the green name to the Yuhi name. You actually have a son. Lu Han is very calm, his thoughts are racing, he is not afraid of Senju Senluo, but does not want to hurt him. This is a poor man, you should understand how chaotic your body is, the conflict between the two forces. Do you think you can have offspring? That's my son, I affirm me, that's my bloodline. So, in order for him to live, you came to kill me. Yes, I can only do this. I hope you don't blame me, you are my only friend. Are you confident to kill me? No, but I'll try my best. You believe in Danzo. Don't believe it, but this is my only chance and I can only do it. Senju Senluo has been killed. This is a crazy guy. He still regards Luhan as his only friend, but his son is more important than a friend, so he wants to kill Luhan. Actually, I also believe in Danzo. Luhan narrowed his eyes and said, I believe that he will not kill that child. On the contrary, he will nurture that child well. He is your bloodline and must have inherited something from you. Danzo will definitely study him, test him, he will be the next you. Do you want him to be like this? Do you want him to suffer as much as you? You want him to live worse than a dog? Senluo's eyes struggled and his body was shaking. He was already desperate, and he was no longer afraid of death. If Danzo didn't threaten him with a child, he would rather be killed by Danzo than kill Luhan. Can you save him? Senluo said, his tone even pleading. No, I can't promise you, because I don't know if that child is really still alive. Luhan said. He saw the disappointment in Senluo's eyes, and immediately said, but I can save you. You don't have to die. What did you say? Senluo looked at Luhan excitedly, and grabbed Luhan's shoulders with both hands. This was very dangerous. Luhan almost pulled out the knife, but seeing Senluo's emotions, he knew that he think too much. Senju Senluo is a very pure person with a very simple mind. He thinks Luhan is a friend. He wants to kill Luhan, but he doesn't think that Luhan will attack him. You don't have to die. Luhan repeated, I can save you. To be precise, I can find someone to save you. The problem with you is nothing more than the irreconcilable forces of yin and yang, and the conflict is getting more and more intense. You need to find someone who can control the yin and yang, and you can live. Quote. Is there such a person? Senju Senro asked, trembling all over, is there really? Yes, he may be the only person in the world who can control the yin and yang. Although he is very old, the old is dying, but he still has the power to reconcile the problems in you, and the yin and yang escape, blend into the real yin-yang escape. Not only that, you are controlled by Danzo's forbidden technique. Danzo can kill you at any time, but as long as you have the power of yin-yang escape, you can crack the control. As long as you are free, you can go and save your son yourself. Who? The person who can save me, who is he? He, a man who should have died, perhaps you've heard of him, Uchiha Madara. Chapter 0603_Trust. Senju Senra naturally knows Uchiha Madara. He was in the first ninja war. When he was a teenager, he was used for experiments and became a crazy monster. And before that, he was free. He belonged to the Senju clan, the genius ninja. Uchiha Madara was only a few years old when he led Kyubi, Nine Tails, to attack Konoha and had seen Uchiha Madara with his own eyes. Of course, he also knew that Uchiha Madara was dead. Isn't he dead? Is he still alive? Is he still alive? Senju Senluo was a little mad with excitement. He was already desperate. He was going to die. No one could protect his son. Killing Han Guang was the only chance to save his son. So he came to kill Han Guang, but he didn't expect that Luhan gave him a huge hope. As long as he doesn't die and can get rid of Danzo's bondage, he believes that he can save his son, and even take revenge and kill Danzo. There are two enemies of Senju Senro. The first is Danzo, and the second is Sarutobi Hiruzen. He is indeed still alive. I have already met him. Luhan continued, have you seen the person who just met me? Luhan was talking about White Zetsu. Senju Senluo can sense the chaotic within 100 miles. If he had followed him all the way, he would have seen White Zetsu. White Zetsu moved underground by relying on organic matter. This is a technique, and there must be chakra fluctuations. It is difficult for Luhan to find him, but Senju Senluo can. Senju Senro nodded. You've seen him. His name is White Zetsu. he was created by Uchiha Madara. Luhan said, in fact, White Zetsu was not created by Madara, but a product of depravity immersed in infinite Tsukuyomi in ancient times, but Luhan did not need to these tell Senju Senro. Senju Senluo suddenly looked up to the east. Obviously, White Zetsu has not left within 100 miles, just to the east. Call. Senju Senra soared into the sky and was about to chase after White Zetsu. Come back. Don't go, he doesn't know you and will kill you. Luhan raised his head and shouted. Bloody Yuhi-colored lightning flew back and landed in front of Luhan. He stared at Luhan. He really believed in Luhan. In his heart, Luhan was both a friend and an enemy, and there was no contradiction at all. I have made an appointment with Uchiha Madara, and we will meet tomorrow. Luhan said, flipping his wrist, took out Hiraishin kunai from the space backpack, and handed it to Senju Senra. I want to meet him alone first, then from time to time, I will tell him about you, and if he agrees to help you, I will immediately appear by your side and take you there. Quote. Senju Senluo was holding Hiraishin kunai in his hand. His hands were shaking a little, he seemed to be unable to speak, his voice trembled. Thank you, thank you. In Luhan's eyes, the Yuhi name above his head began to flicker, and after Yuhi green alternated 5 or 6 times, it was fixed as the green name. Green name Senluo is back. Green name twice. Luhan believed that it would be difficult for Senju Senluo to change back to the Yuhi name, and being able to change to the green name again showed his incomparable trust in Luhan, and Luhan was confident to convince Uchiha Madara that Uchiha Madara would definitely save Senju Senluo. A freak with Mangekyo and Senju Hashirama cells can completely become the next terrifying existence with Rinnegan. Uchiha Madara needs such a person to carry out the Moon Eye plan. Uchiha Madara needs help. Akatsuki has not yet been established, and he has not many people. Luhan was more than happy to give Senju Senluo to Uchiha Madara, and put a green name next to Uchiha Madara. No matter how Uchiha Madara induces training, Luhan firmly believes that Senju Senluo will always be his friend. At the camp by the lake, the aroma of barbecue is particularly strong. Might Dai has already eaten half of a wild boar. He doesn't seem to have a big belly, and he doesn't know how to eat it. Hataki Tai Shuo has finished his dinner and is practicing his knife on the lake. Switching from a short knife to a sickle has not brought him a difficult bottleneck. In fact, the skills of the knife are basically the same. Hataki Tai Shuo's current strength may be comparable to compared with the Hataki Sakumo 3 years ago. Of course, it still can't compare to the current Hataki Sakumo. Sir. Captain. Teacher. Luhan in a black robe walked out of the forest on the other side of the lake, and everyone around the bonfire got up and greeted respectfully. Next to Luhan was a man with a blood-colored robe and a kabuto hat that was extremely fat and covered his face. No one could see his face. Several Anbu ninjas and Hataki Tai Shuo changed their faces. They had all seen Senju Senluo. Senju Senluo also participated in the Konoha Back Mountain Rebellion 3.5 years ago, and has been flying around in the sky. Teacher, Luhan walked to the bonfire. Hataki Tai Shuo leaned over and asked in a low voice. Senluo has other tasks, by the way, come with us these few days. Luhan said, without saying much. Other people naturally did not dare to ask more. On the northern border of the Land of Fire, a luxuriant valley is hidden in the vast mountains and forests. The stream in the valley is gurgling, and the waterfall is like the silver river hanging down from the mountain wall, rushing endlessly. By the creek, Hanzo sat cross-legged with the chain axe and sickle on his legs, motionless, like a sculpture. Whoosh! The sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded. Hanzo opened his eyes, raised and retracted his arms. The sword light flashed away, so fast that people could not catch it with the naked eye. Danzo seemed to have not moved, and the stone that was cut in half fell beside him on the grass. Master Hanzo is worthy of the name of a demigod, and his swordsmanship has become more and more superb. Black Zetsu walked out of the dark woods behind and clapped his hands. Are all people in the black market as boring as you? Hanzo stood up and looked at Black Zetsu coldly. Call, 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 call. More than a dozen figures appeared ghostly around Hanzo, each of them wearing long robes enough to cover the whole body, and the breath was cold. Lord Hanzo's subordinates are really masters like clouds. So many people are dealing with Han Guang, are they making a big fuss? Black Zetsu swept his eyes and said in a strange tone. Humph. It's just to prevent people from being disturbed. I'm enough to kill Han Guang. Hanzo snorted coldly. He still remembered how he lost to Han Guang last time, so he made adequate preparations this time. I believe that Hanzo-sama will definitely be able to. Black Zetsu said with a gloomy smile. The time has been set. Tomorrow afternoon, End Valley. Chapter 0604_White Rabbit. As a non-famous neurological patient of Konoha, Senju Senluo has always been a broken mouth, and after he returned to the lake camp with Lu Han, he was silent for a period of time. Lu Han knew that he was missing his son and did not comfort him. Because this is an unsolvable problem, and everything can only be solved by him. Unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, he returned to his old ways and became the same as before, as if he had forgotten his troubles. The dead of night, everyone else has rested, and Hatake Taishuo is vigilant. I've used this knife before, it's very sharp, it's a rare gift, but Han Guang is very stingy. I asked him for it, but he didn't give it to me. This bastard, I still regard him as my best friend. Senju Senluo was thinking about Hatake Taishuo, and debating about the blade of Kurigakure. Hatake Taishuo was already in a lot of trouble, but he was not easy to attack. He could only sit by the lake like an old monk in meditation. You are very boring, you know. Han Guang told me that you are his disciple. Tisk tisk tisk. You are so old, you are too embarrassed to worship him as a teacher. Senju Senluo suddenly stopped talking, because the sound was too sudden and seemed strange. Hatake Taishuo looked at him, but saw that he had stood up and looked north. What? Hatake Taishuo was suddenly alert, got up and asked. He didn't notice anything, but Senju Senluo's demeanor had already explained, what was there. What a white rabbit, Senju Senluo said in a strange tone, and immediately rose into the sky, turning into a bloody lightning bolt, and pierced the sky toward the north. Call. Stay here. Lu Han appeared ghostly at Senju Senluo's place, left a voice, and then disappeared. White Zetsu is here. Lu Han knew that the white rabbit in the mouth of Senju Forest was White Zetsu. In fact, Lu Han was not afraid that White Zetsu would go in return, and ran over to spy on him. He was afraid that something might go wrong with Senju. More than 10 kilometers to the north. Hiraishin tore through the air, and in a flash of hundreds of meters, Lu Han appeared. He still did not catch up with Senju Senluo. This guy is too fast, because he has Senju Hashirama cells in his body. His body repair ability is extremely pervert, relying on the ability of Mangekyo Sharingan to fly. He wasn't afraid to wear out his eyes. Boom. Yuhi's name appeared in the forest in front of him. As far as Lu Han could see, towering trees fell, and then countless trees grew back on the land. There were also vines, which looked like death in the dark. The tentacles, waving, rushed into the sky, and then into the ground, tearing the earth apart and sending dust flying. Bastard! Come out, don't hide below. Senju flew above the forest, using Mokuden wood style to his heart's content, a little exasperated. Call. Lu Han relied on Hiraishin Kanai, who was on Senju Senrao's body, appeared behind him out of thin air, and patted Senju Senrao's shoulder. If you can't find him like this, you will only scare him away. The roar stopped suddenly. The forest has been turned into ruins. The smoke and dust have not yet dispersed. Lu Han and Senju Senluo landed on the fallen giant tree. Lu Han has seen the map fully open, but there is no trace of White Zetsu. Senju Senluo kept turning around, staring at the surroundings. He couldn't feel White Zetsu anymore. It's useless, his mayfly technique. As long as he wants to, he can completely restrain his breath. You can't feel anything. Lu Han continued, calm down, please. Let's go back. In the second half of the night, somewhere in the north of the country of fire, in the underground hall, a huge shadow like an ancient behemoth was hidden in the darkness north of the hall. The yellow flame in the brazier jumped with the airflow in the hall. The shadows seemed real and illusory under the firelight. Uchiha Madara sat cross-legged in front of the stone wall, silent. "Sir." White Zetsu's voice suddenly sounded in the dark corner. "How are things going?" Uchiha Madara made an old voice without turning his head. "Has Han Guang been suspicious?" "Han Guang has brought a lot of people. This time I left Konoha to visit the country of thunder, so there are many experts in the entourage. He met me alone and found nothing unusual. Hanzo has already prepared well. Just wait for tomorrow afternoon. You can kill the cold light." "Very good." Uchiha Madara is very satisfied. This is a decision he made after thinking for a long time. He doesn't like being threatened, and he doesn't want to have a handle on others, so he plans to get rid of Hangguang, using a strategy of killing two birds with one stone. As long as Hanzo killing Hangguang and letting Black Zetsu operate from it will surely create more waves in the world of ninja, and Hangguang's death will also save the world the trouble of letting the world find out that Uchiha Madara is still alive. As for what Han Guang said, there are still people who know about it. Uchiha Madara thinks what Han Guang said is a lie. In fact, even if it is true, it doesn't matter. Uchiha Madara has left few traces in this world since his suspended animation. The Moon Eye plan is currently only known to Uchiha Madara and Ju. Pass. There is no evidence. We are not afraid of rumors that Uchiha Madara is still alive. Who would believe it? As long as the cold light is removed, everything will be fine. Because Uchiha Madara still doesn't know how Hangguang knows about those things. Hangguang is weird. If he can't figure it out, he doesn't want to, just erase the source of this problem. Anything else? Uchiha Madara turned her head slightly, and White Zetsu didn't even leave, hiding in a dark corner, wondering what she was thinking. "Yes, I found something that I feel compelled to tell your lord." "Speak." It was a Konoha ninja who seemed to be protecting Hangguang in the dark. Now he has met Hangguang. He has a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. If I read correctly, it should be Uchiha Kagami's Mangekyo Sharingan. Died in battle, those eyes should be transplanted. Uchiha Madara was silent for a while before saying, "What else?" He didn't seem to care about Uchiha Kagami Mangekyo. "That guy, Mokudan, wood style," White Zetsu said cautiously. Uchiha Madara's body shook violently, stood up suddenly, and looked at White Zetsu. "It should be Senjuhashirama's cells," White Zetsu added. "His chakra fluctuations are very abnormal and very unstable." If it was only Mangekyo, White Zetsu would not have reported to Uchiha Madara, but Mangekyo plus Mokudan, wood style, it is extraordinary. That is the basis of Raw Rinnegan. Chapter 0605_The End Valley. At noon, the sun was shining brightly, and the country of fire was gradually becoming less than the hottest gathering. There was no shade in the forest, and it was extremely sultry. Luhan still took people to the northern border of the country of fire. In fact, if he was alone, at his speed, he would have left the country of fire long ago, but this is a mission visit, and he is not in a hurry. Who is he? An old voice suddenly sounded in Luhan's mind. Luhan stopped on the tree, frowning slightly, and the others stopped as well. Insight map was fully opened. Luhan did not find any trace of Uchiha Madara. Senju Senluo, who was wearing a blood robe, was still hovering in the sky boredly, and he did not find any abnormality. The voice belonged to Uchiha Madara. Luhan didn't know how he did it, and put the voice directly into people's consciousness, but Luhan could guess one or two things. Uchiha Shisui in the original book is strong enough to directly invade the human brain, although Uchiha Madara does not have Rinnegan now, but Rinnegan is different from Mangekyo. Once it is turned on, it exists in the soul, which is not the power of human beings. After the resurrection there is Rinnegan, who can testify to this. Luhan has no doubt that Uchiha Madara still has extremely terrifying power, even if it is Shisui in an instant. Can you hear? Luhan tried to communicate with Uchiha Madara with his inner voice. No respond. Obviously, Uchiha Madara can send his voice directly into Luhan's mind, but he has not yet been able to hear Luhan's inner voice. If he could, it would be terrifying. He would have the ability to see people's inner thoughts. Teacher. Hatake Taishuo couldn't help speaking when he saw that Luhan was standing on the tree and didn't know what he was thinking. Luhan didn't respond, raised his hand, and led him onwards. Who is he? That person in the sky, who is he? Uchiha Madara's voice appeared in Luhan's mind again. He seemed to hope that Luhan would answer him directly with his voice, but Luhan definitely couldn't do it. Suddenly nonsense would be taken as mentally ill. Luhan confirmed one thing. That is Uchiha Madara's inability to send his own voice into Senju Senrao's mind. The conflicting yin and yang forces are not only hurting Senju Senra, but also protecting him. The time is changed after nightfall, and the location remains the same. Madara added. Luhan, who was walking forward, stopped for a while, looked around, and said that he knew. A few hours later, the end of dusk. Sky was already extremely dark. Luhan and others stopped to rest again. Might Dai and others made fire. Hatake Taishuo went and caught a few beasts for dinner. Senju Senluo, who was warned by Luhan last night, did not run around again, even if he found out. Even though White Zetsu was nearby, he didn't go past. Night falls silently. Everyone sat around the fire. Luhan simply ate some barbecued meat, then got up and said, "The Valley of the End is not far from here. I'm going there to see it. Matsuri pays tribute to the original Hokage. You stay here, and then I don't wander around until you come back. If you find any problems, Senluo, you go to the Valley of the End and let me know." No one objected to Luhan's words, but Hatake Taishuo wanted to go to the End Valley with Luhan, but Luhan refused. Seeing Uchiha Madara, Luhan can only be one person. In fact, he already understands that Uchiha Madara wants to see Senju Senluo, but Luhan will not take him there easily. Luo to him. In the Valley of the End, two huge statues stood opposite each other. The water vapor was thick, the waterfall roared, and the white waves were billowing in the pool. The incomparably huge open space, in the center, has been lit by a bonfire, and dozens of trees stand together to form a fire pile that is nearly 10 meters high. But there was no one in the valley, and the huge fire seemed to appear suddenly, coming out of nowhere, which was quite strange. Luhan walked slowly into the Valley of the End, his hand always on the hilt of the knife, and he approached the huge fire in a hurry. It seems that he is the only one in the entire Valley of Ending. It's a bad feeling. With my current strength, even if Uchiha Madara shoots himself, he can't keep me. Why do I still feel dangerous? Luhan was very vigilant. He knew very well that this trip would not be peaceful. Prepared for the worst. Uchiha Madara is a hero of a generation. Even if he is old, he should not be underestimated. This time we met with Uchiha Madara. If Uchiha Madara does not come up with something, then he is not calling himself a madman. But Luhan is still here. He hopes to use the power of Uchiha Madara to ascend to the position of Hokage. Only Konoha, the most powerful of the 5 master ninja villages, can Luhan subvert the world more quickly and safely, so he knows that it is dangerous to come here. He's still relentless. What did he prepare for? Luhan stopped near the huge fire and couldn't move forward anymore. Insight map out of the way. This time, the big Yuhi point appeared, which is also the big Yuhi point that does not show the level, but it is not White Zetsu, nor Uchiha Madara, but Black Zetsu. South End Valley, in the woods. Black Zetsu stood on the tree, looking in the direction of the huge fire. Beside the tree, there was a round hole. According to the information analyzed by White Zetsu, Han Guang's perception ability is limited to above the surface, and his perception ability is extremely weak for underground, and the earth can block his ability. Therefore, as long as people are underground, cove light is difficult to find. He has reached the center of the curse array. It's your turn to take action. Black Zetsu said in a low voice. Call. A figure sprang out from the pitch-black hole. The chain axe swayed, making a swooshing sound. he dodged again and disappeared into the woods. Beside the huge fire, Lu Han smiled dumbly. The insight map shows that another Yuhi point appeared beside Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu disappeared immediately, then Yuhi point was changed to Big Yuhi point, level 70 bronze boss, Hanzo. At the same time as Hanzo appeared, Yuhi points also appeared in other directions around the Valley of the End, and there were a dozen or so. Chapter 0606_Hanzo again. A dozen people, led by Hanzo, were distributed around the Valley of the End, while Lu Han was in the middle of the Valley of the End, that is to say, they surrounded Lu Han. I actually found Hanzo, and Black Zetsu also showed up. Is it a mission released to Hanzo through the black market? Lu Han thought of the possibility that was closest to the real situation. It was Yuhi's name, and he had long known the danger of this trip. More than 10 Yuhi points quickly converged, with Hanzo the fastest. After a few breaths, Lu Han saw Hanzo's figure. On the other side of the huge fire, Hanzo rushed out of the woods and stopped at the edge of the clearing. In other directions, more than a dozen Omegaker ninjas also appeared. Lu Han's eyesight was astonishing. Circles, the distances between them are exactly the same. Captain Omegaker Anbu also came, and he still looked like that smoky smoke. His level has already reached the level 60 white-silver boss. Lu Han looked around thoughtfully. He had already noticed something was wrong, but he didn't panic. Hanzo didn't talk nonsense, stared at Lu Han, and quickly hand seal. Sealing technique, Kai Lian Ju Kong Zunchi. After Hanzo completed the hand seal, he slapped the ground with one hand, and the ground immediately appeared with a curse mark pattern, and then it burst. Countless detonating talismans connected into a line, constantly exploding, and continuously extending forward. The speed was extremely fast, and it took only one breath. The detonating talisman extended to the huge fire in the middle of the open space. Boom, boom. The fire burst, and countless pieces of wood and sparks splattered all around. The power of the explosion was by no means weaker than that of S-ranked Kaiden, fire-style ninjutsu. Terrible flames swept around, forming a sea of fire in the open space. The reaction was extremely fast, and he had already jumped into the sky, and relied on futon wind-style ninjutsu to slowly drift downward. The fire quickly dissipated. The entire open space has changed, and the fire Yuhi-colored incantation pattern is like a spider web that covers the rocky ground. Looking down from the sky, it is extremely spectacular. In the center of the open space, the firewood was already in the original position of the fire. It exploded, revealing what was hidden in the middle of the fire. It was a burnt Yuhi metal circle Jinchuriki column, 3 meters in diameter and 10 meters high, and it was full of dark Yuhi-colored mantras. Formed. The entire Valley of Ending was shrouded in this barrier, and Lu Han lost his sense of Horaishin Kue outside the Valley of Ending. It is the sealing technique that restricts the Horaishin technique. In fact, with Hanzo's ability and the technique he mastered, it was not enough to seal Horaishin, and Lu Han's Horaishin technique was not sealed either. Just the induction is isolated. Lu Han can still use Horaishin Kunai in the Valley of the End, but he can't feel it as too far away from him. For example, when Horaishin Kunai is placed on Senju Senluo's body, Lu Han can't feel it, can't sense it, and naturally can't teleport there. Tisk tisk, Danzo, Hanzo, they are all virtues. Are you worried that I will run away? Lu Han chuckled and fell to the ground. Hangguang, today is your day of death. Hanzo shouted coldly. You are also a competent villain. I can't count the people who said this to me now, but I am still alive. Lu Leng looked at Hanzo. Lord Hanzo. 3 years. The previous battle was unforgettable to me. The knife that almost tore my chest apart, I will never forget it. For this reason, I practice the swordsmanship hard. Today is the night of the murder, the night is dark and the wind is high. Shall I duel again? It's all tricks. There were a lot of people on the other side, and they weren't trash fish. Everyone who took them out was a strong man on his own. Lu Han had the intention to fight Hanzo, but he didn't want to be beaten. Ha ha ha, Hanzo laughed. Hangguang, are you timid? Don't worry, I didn't plan to let them attack you today. I'll be alone. Luhan twitched the sword of shock slowly, pointed the tip of the knife directly at Hanzo, and said hoarsely, then please. Today, only one of you and me can leave the Valley of Ending alive. Arrogant, ignorance brat, he has only been practicing for a few years, and he really thinks he is my opponent. Hanzo raised his scythe, today next year will be your death day. Luhan couldn't stand Hanzo's classic lines of the villain anymore, so he took the lead and disappeared in place with a shock of his feet. After that, he appeared behind Hanzo like a ghost, and the sword light fell like thunder. Good come. Hanzo burst into a drink, his body continued to rotate, and even Luhan's several knives. Immediately afterwards, there was a muffled groan, and the moment they fought, Luhan's knife tore off his shirt, leaving a bloodstain on his shoulder. Hanzo turned pale in shock and backed away. Lord Hanzo, your knife is too slow. Luhan sneered pitifully. In 3 years, he fought with the faceless tens of thousands of times. Every inch of the skin on the whole body was cut by the knife, and the most serious time, he was almost cut off by the faceless man. Out of the knife. Fight, fight, these have been integrated into his soul. Now Luhan, every time he uses the knife, he will not have any distractions, and use the simplest and fastest way to use the knife. In his eyes, Hanzo's knife is really too slow. Another opponent of Luhan in recent years is White Fang. White Fang's swords are known for being fast, so he has adapted to White Fang's quick swords. Looking at Hanzo's swordsmanship, he is really slow by more than 1 point. There are obvious flaws, but Luhan's knife is faster. The so-called only fast is not broken, it is the truth. In terms of pure swordsmanship, Hanzo is no longer Luhan's opponent. Of course, swordsmanship is not all of Hanzo's strength. In a very short period of time, the two fought hundreds of tricks in a row. Hanzo fought and retreated. There were 7 more wounds on his body, and the wounds were not deep. Luhan's swordsmanship was stronger than his, but not by much. 1 point, so he decisively changed his tactics. Kaiden, fire style, exploding flame formation. Hanzo slapped the ground with one hand, and countless explosive talismans started from his palm, quickly spreading towards Luhan, like climbing vines, trying to wrap around Luhan's legs. Luhan blocked his right eye, his left eye Mangekyo spun rapidly, and he brazenly launched a terrifying pupil technique that could rebound ninjutsu. The world moves. Chapter 0607_instant flower rain cut. Hanzo was releasing his best Kaiden, fire style, ninjutsu. He saw Luhan's left eye Mangekyo spinning rapidly, and he already realized it was not good. He didn't know what the ability of Luhan's left eye was, so he didn't dare to look at it again. The most feared thing about Sharingan is demonic illusion. No matter how powerful the ninja is, once trapped by demonic illusion, he will become a lamb to be slaughtered. Hanzo guessed that Luhan launched demonic illusion. That's not demonic illusion, however. It is a kind of pupil technique with extremely terrifying effect. In a trance, Hanzo found that the detonating talismans that were supposed to wrap around Hengguang's ankles all appeared at his feet. He couldn't help but look horrified. He immediately gave up the spell and jumped up into the sky. Boom! Countless detonating talismans burst under his feet, and the flames with huge shock waves shone high in the sky. The flames were lifted up to dozens of meters high, and they kept chasing the fast-rising Hanzo. It looked as if Hanzo had been blown up. Fly like. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 Hiraishin Kanai, in the shape of a product, strike directly at Hanzo. ... Dozens of kilometers away from the Valley of the End, there is a raging camp. Senju Sen Luo is cutting wood by himself. He is going to cut out a statue. There are already people's outlines, others are hiding from him. He is too annoying, like a chatter. If anyone talks to him, don't stop down. Senju suddenly stood up, frowned and looked in the direction of End Valley. The distance was too far, so naturally he couldn't see anything, but he could feel a strong chakra fluctuation coming from there. It was Kaiden, fire-style chakra. In the forest not far away, The old Uchiha Madara stood in the shadow of the big tree, looking at Senju Senra from afar. He seemed to be extremely interested in Senju Senrao, and his eyes were full of strange brilliance. Hanguu is in trouble, Senju Senluo said suddenly, and after leaving the words, he rose into the sky, turned into a bloody yuhi-colored lightning, and flew away in the direction of the Valley of the End. Might Dai, Hataki Taishuo and others all changed their expressions, all got up and looked at each other. Let's go together, Might Dai said. In the Valley of the End, the battle continued. After experiencing all kinds of miscalculations, Hanzo finally stabilized his position and regained his fighting rhythm. He had realized that only relying on swordsmanship was not Lu Han's opponent, and only relying on ninjutsu is not Lu Han's opponent, and must combine the two. Lu Han's swordsmanship and ninjutsu are stronger than Hanzo, but his abilities exist independently and cannot be enhanced by a combined attack. And Hanzo can. This is his true strength. Ninja body flow Hattori Zunha. Hanzo slashed with a knife, and countless detonating talismans flew out from his sleeves, forming a giant purely made of detonating talismans in front of him. When the giant charged towards Lu Han, his whole body exploded, reaching Lu Han's body. In the past, it has become a burning man with a height of tens of meters. Susanoo. Lu Han pushed his eyes with all his strength, and a terrifying aura rose from his body. Susanoo, who was 50 meters tall, appeared, hugged the burning man directly, and crushed it to pieces. Boom! The fire broke out and devoured Susanoo, but was unable to break through Susanoo's defenses. Kaden Fire Style Lava Fall. Hanzo released the ninjutsu again. Susanoo's feet exploded in a large area, the detonating talisman danced, and the magma poured out from the cracked ground, forming a pair of big hands, as if he wanted to drag Susanoo down. The power of this technique was enough to shake Susanoo's giant. Lu Han secretly said that it was not good. Once Susanoo was forced, his eyes would also be severely damaged. Quickly dismissing Susanoo, Lu Han flashed continuously in the air, and was about to approach Hanzo again. At this time, whoosh! The sound of breaking the air came, and when it sounded, it seemed to be still in the sky, and in an instant, it was over the Valley of the End. Senju Senluo came, and a blood robe shook in the wind. He looked down at the battlefield below and grinned. Seal, interesting. Hanzo looked up, his face changed. Judging from his breath, Senju Senluo is an extremely powerful ninja, but he is not as good as Hanzo. However, if he is allowed to join the battle and help Hangguang, then Hanzo will be really dangerous. Hanzo knows his situation very well. Growing up to this point, this made him want to kill Hangguang even more, and he didn't want anyone to interfere. Kill him, Hanzo shouted coldly, raising his scythe. Including the smoke, a dozen Omegacore powerhouses all moved. Senju Senluo was in the sky. Most of them couldn't do anything, but the smoke could. The forbidden technique he practiced could turn himself into smoke, and he was in the state of smoke. Very light. I saw the smoke turned into a wisp of smoke, rushing into the sky several hundred meters in an instant. The smoke swelled, and turned into a black-robed figure, quickly hand seal. Secret method, 5 rounds of forbidden locks. A chain of smoke shot out, and it landed on Senju Senluo in a breath. Suddenly, Senju Senluo also became smoky, but the smoke did not hurt him. Senju Senro's reaction was strange and seemed to find it interesting. It's actually connected together, can't you get rid of it? Senju Senluo muttered, suddenly turned into blood yuhi lightning, and flew towards the north of the Valley of the End. The smoke was like a shadow, followed by Senju Senrao. He doesn't know how to fly, and it looks like he's being dragged away by Senju Senro. It's the smoke chain that locks the two together. The smoke chain seems to extend infinitely. You can quickly reach Senju Senro's side through the smoke chain. Don't fly down, be careful. Lu Han couldn't help reminding. Senju Senra is powerful, but if he flies down, he will inevitably be besieged by more than a dozen Omegacore powerhouses, then he will be in danger. In the sky, only Captain Omegacore Anbu Smoke, Senju Senra is enough to deal with. Hanzo, who had fresh yuhi all over his body, rushed to Luhan again fiercely. I don't know if he used some kind of forbidden technique. His momentum was further enhanced, and his speed more than doubled. Obviously, this is a special state. That said, it cannot be sustained for a long time. Luhan was very anxious in his heart. He was not worried about himself, but about Senju Senluo. Seeing Hanzo rushing towards him, Luhan didn't dodge or dodge, but just raised the knife and triggered the magic in the Ring of 10,000 Techniques. S-Class Futon, Wind Style, Forbidden Technique, Flower and Rain Cutting Technique. Instant. Boom. At this moment, the huge lotus is in full bloom. Chapter 0608_Zuxiang Melee. Luhan wants to kill Hanzo in seconds, and he is likely to succeed. With instant S-rank ninjutsu, no one would have imagined that such a thing would happen. No matter how powerful the ninja was, if he didn't react in time, he would be cut into pieces in the face of the technique of cutting flowers and rain, as did Luhan. However, Luhan underestimated Hanzo's cruelty. At the moment when the flower and rain cutting technique broke out, Hanzo disappeared directly in front of Luhan, and was replaced by an Omegakure strong man with a black robe covering his head. The level 60 elite, this guy doesn't seem to know what happened, and he was torn apart by hundreds of wind blades. Substitute. It's not that kind of low-level stand-in technique. Hanzo can instantly swap places with a strong ninja who has entered the cage level threshold even when the space is unstable. This is obviously a remarkable forbidden technique, or a secret technique. If Luhan didn't guess wrong, Hanzo must have cast the relevant spell on the opponent in advance. In other words, Hanzo had long been prepared to let the ninja die for him, and he would only use this technique when faced with an irresistible situation. Tisk tisk tisk, Hanzo, you really don't have any compassion at all. You were a loyal subordinate who was born and died for you, and you gave up so easily. When the violent wind blades dissipated, Luhan's teasing voice also followed. Sounded. Hanzo was already furious and even more frightened. He didn't know how Luhan instantly cast the S-rank forbidden technique, and he didn't know how many times Luhan could instantly cast it. Tongling Sanjiao Fish. Hanzo decisively opened his biggest hole card, his psychic beast, Sanjiao. Boom. The smoke rose, and a huge mountain pepper fish appeared. It looked like a huge gecko. The mountain pepper fish was named Fish, but it had nothing to do with fish at all. It was an amphibian and reptile. Hanzo stood on the top of the Sanjiao fish head, his whole body was full of blood, and he didn't know if it was the consequence of the forbidden technique he just performed. If you want to duel, what's your skill in summoning psychic beasts? Lu Leng said with a smile. Damn it. Hanzo dodged and disappeared. At the same time, the Sanjiao headed into the ground and disappeared. Is the ability to burrow. This is an ability similar to Doden, Earth-style, ninjutsu. It is not simply to drill and climb underground. Sanjiao's sneak attack ability is very strong, and the poisonous mist sprayed is extremely bad. The defense has a very terrifying paralyzing effect. Even Hanzo, who has Sansho fish toxin antibodies in his body, can't resist the poisonous mist attack of Sansho fish, and the toxicity is strong. Trouble. Luhan flashed quickly without touching the ground. In fact, Luhan is not afraid of Hanzo alone, or Sanzang alone, but the two will cooperate. Sanzang will launch a sneak attack, and Hanzo will give a fatal blow. It is indeed very troublesome. Luhan himself is not afraid of toxins, because he can drink medicine to detoxify. However, taking medicine also takes time. Call. Hanzo ghosts usually appear behind Luhan. Luhan turned around with a knife, and Hanzo burst into flames. It was a clone. Luhan had to rely on the technique of Hiraishin to move to another place in the valley, so as to escape the burning of the flames. Cadent Fire Style, Tongue Death Flame Formation. The real Hanzo appeared on top of Luhan's head and started ninjutsu. Cadent Fire Style, Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation. Luhan completed the hand seal in an instant, and LV9 Ultimate Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation rushed into the sky. And the raging civil war in the valley. Luhan and Hanzo were fighting hard. In the sky, Yan and Senju Senluo were also fighting for their lives. Senju Senluo had not met an opponent as interesting as Yan for a long time. He was fast and could fly. With Mangekyo, he could Mokudan, wood style, and the laudable ability of smoke is simple, just one, smoke. And it was this ability that gave Senju Senra a headache, because many times, he thought he could kill the smoke, but the smoke turned into smoke and escaped the fatal attack. I don't know if there are any side effects of continuous smog. These two, one is Captain Omegakure Anbu, and the other is the Ace of Konoha's roots. Their identities are quite equal. In fact, Senju Senra should be stronger. As long as he reaches the ground and exerts his full-strength Mokudan, wood-style, smoke is not at all his opponent, but Luhan forbade him to fly down, because there were more than a dozen Omegakure powerhouses waiting for him on the ground. End Valley. Hataki Taishuo and Might Dai landed on a sunny day tree dozens of meters high one after another. It was so intense. Lord Hengguang is singled out Hanzo, the leader of Omegakure known as a demigod. Senju Senra seems to have met an equal opponent, and more than a dozen ninjas with strong breath are scattered in the End Valley, waiting for an opportunity. The two looked at each other. I'll go first. Might Dai's whole body erupted with terrifying chakra fluctuations, blue steam lingered around him, the seventh gate of the 8 inner gates, the door opened. On the way, he didn't open the 8 inner gates, so he was no faster than Hataki Taishuo. Hataki Taishuo led him to run, but when he opened the 7th gate, his whole person changed, and the distorted airflow seemed to tearing apart the space. In the blink of an eye, he not only disappeared beside Hataki Taishuo, but also appeared in the End Valley. This is the 8 inner gates. Hataki Taishuo was a little shocked. It's only the 7th gate, not the strongest 8th gate. It becomes the 8 inner gates. You must know that when the 8 inner gates opens the 6th gate, the speed can quickly rub the flames with the air, and the 7th gate is naturally stronger and faster. The other ninjas of the Konoha mission were still behind, and at a distance of dozens of kilometers, Hataki Taishuo and Might Dai had already left them far behind. Might Dai rushed into the End Valley battlefield first, followed by Hataki Taishuo. The strength rating of the two may both reach the level 60 white-silver boss. Might Dai is even stronger, but he cannot maintain his state for a long time. Wolves entering the flock, a dozen Omegakure powerhouses finally have opponents, however, they are not opponents of the two at all. Hanzo's face changed dramatically, he suddenly looked up at the sky, he was looking at Senju Senrao. Senju Senra must be killed first, so that the smoke can pull away and lead the others by the smoke, which is enough to fight against the two strong Konohas. Boom! Hanzo jumped at his feet and rose into the sky. Chapter 0609_Death of Senro. Hanzo has been in the ninja world for 20 years and won the name of demigod. Naturally, he is not a generalist. His strength is not only his own strength, but also the ability to judge the situation. A single cold light is not enough to make him retreat. But with Senju Senluo, Kimin Might Dai, and Hataki Taishuo, the three powerhouses, he already had the idea of running away. But he knows very well that he can't run, and his fame will be ruined in one lifetime. If you want to change the situation, the key lies in Senju Senrao. The smoke entangled Senju Senrao, and Senju Senrao also entangled the smoke. In Hanzo's opinion, as long as he kills the flying guy and gives the smoke a chance to deal with the two strong Konohas, he will have a turnaround on his own side. Possible. Seeing Hanzo rising into the sky and heading straight for Senju Senluo, Luhan realized that it was not good. Senluo, hide! Luhan shouted. Trap him! Hanzo drank coldly at the same time. Omegakure Anbu, who was surrounded by smoke, reacted very quickly. Hearing Hanzo's order, black energy suddenly erupted from his body, and the person had disappeared. Senju Senluo didn't obey Luhan's orders. His low rating was because of this. His brain was abnormal and his ability to judge the situation was poor. He still wanted to kill the smoke, but was enveloped by the black gas, and his body seemed to be attached to a 10,000-pound weight, and his movements became slow. Damn it! Senju snorted lowly. Long wooden thorns grew on his hands, and the wooden thorns branched into hundreds of branches, sweeping wildly around. The black energy trapping him was actually bleeding. Blood appeared out of thin air, and it seemed that the smoke had been hit hard, but he still did not retreat. Call. Luhan appeared beside Senju Senluo, and Senju Senluo had his Horaishin Kunai on him. Rasengan. Luhan's hand shone with a faint blue light. LV9 Ultimate Rasengan swept out and penetrated into the black gas. The black gas was torn apart, blood rained, and the smoke was hit hard again, but he still did not back down and was still trapped. Senju Senro. This guy is taking his life. His rating has reached the level of 60 white silver boss. If this level of powerhouse is desperate, Luhan will not be able to solve it immediately. Hanzo rushed up. Luhan tried to stop it, but Hanzo was bizarrely divided into two. One rushed in front of Luhan and burst into flames, and the other appeared behind Senju Senluo, slashing with a sickle. Swordsmanship flash. No no no, Luhan shouted in horror. Hanzo is a lunatic. He directly launches a Nirvana stunt on the trapped Senju Senrao, but you must know that the smoke is trapping Senju Senrao now. It can be said that the two are one. If Hanzo kills Senju Senrao, then he will also kill smoke. Is it worth it? Poochie. Hanzo stabbed through Senju Senluo's body with a single knife, and the terrifying sword chi also completely tore the black chi. The smoke returned from the black chi state to a humanoid state, but his whole body was dripping with blood, his vitality rapidly weakened, and he was about to die. Senju Senro was also seriously injured, but he has Senju Hashirama cells in his body, and his vitality is tenacious, so he looks much better than smoke. Stop the cold light, Hanzo shouted again coldly. The dying smoke turned into a puff of smoke and rushed in front of Luhan, and then turned into black gas, trying to wrap Luhan. At the same time, Hanzo slashed Senju Senluo's back with another knife. Senju Senluo fell to the ground like a cannonball. With a bang, a big hole was smashed into the ground. A puff of poisonous smoke penetrated the ground and disappeared. Hanzo glitter appears over Senju Senra, hand seal. Kaden fire style powerful flame array. Countless detonating talismans sprang out from his sleeves, forming a huge spell print formation on the ground, and then it exploded. A 100-meter radius was immediately plunged into a sea of fire, a terrifying aura rose in the flames, and a huge the Susanoo phantom appeared and shattered. Senju Senrao can't activate Susanoo. Once activated, the yin and yang in his body will be completely unbalanced, and he will die. But he had just fallen into a situation of mortal death, and desperately launched a. Luhan couldn't even see the color of Susanoo, then Susanoo collapsed and disappeared, and Senju Senluo's breath gradually disappeared in the sea of fire. It's all complicated, but it's actually very short. Luhan was entangled in the black air, Rasengan swept around twice, and only a wisp of the black air was melted away. The black air moved away from Luhan and turned into a smoky figure. Luhan didn't have time to deal with this. The guy who was about to die suddenly appeared beside the sea of fire. He was about to put out the fire, but stopped, and the whole person was chilling. On the insight map, the green dot representing Senju Senra disappeared. Ha ha ha, Han Guang, he is very important to you, ha 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 ha. Hanzo laughed wildly in the distance, laughing hysterically. Is it worth it? Luhan looked at Hanzo. He really wanted to know. You killed him, but you also lost your most important assistant, your Captain Anbu. Is it worth it to exchange one life for another? Luhan's hands were shaking, and the flames of anger were about to tear his soul apart. Who said smoke can die? He's immortal, ha ha ha. Hanzo laughed wildly again. Luhan's face changed dramatically and he looked at Yan. The smoke whose life breath had dropped to freezing point turned into a wisp of smoke, and this time, the smoke was the color of Yuhi. Yuhi-colored smoke flew over the small half of the end valley and drilled into a person's body. This person, rated 60 bronze boss. It was Hanzo who brought people in his hands, second only to the existence of smoke. He was joining forces with several people to besiege Hokage Taishuo. After Yui-colored smoke penetrated into his body, he held and fell to the ground in pain. Full of spells, Hokage Taishuo found an opportunity, escaped the siege of several people, and stepped forward with a knife and slashed the person. Bang! This person burst into smoke and scattered all around. After the wisps of smoke scattered for tens of meters, they quickly gathered in one place, and condensed into a mysterious figure shrouded in smoke. Captain Omegakure Anbu Smoke. He should have died, but he came back to life. Same height, same breath, same weirdness. He is smoke. Offering Matsuri, the profound truth of life. Resurrection. What? Lu Han was horrified. Chapter 0610_blood boiling. Smoke was resurrected, the breath became stronger and stronger, and a strong fluctuation of life aura gradually came from his body. The poor guy whose body was taken away by the smoke was originally a level 60 bronze boss. It stands to reason that even if the smoke is able to bend over again, will not improve the strength of that body, but he did it. After the strong and unstable fluctuation of life breath appeared, Yan's strength seemed to be recovering, and soon, the word Yuhi on his head was adjusted to level 60 white silver boss. This guy has really regained his strength. Burning his life. He burned his own life in exchange for great strength. Lu Han thought to himself, and suddenly felt that something was wrong. No, what he burned was not his own life, but the vitality of that body. If he can take people's bodies indefinitely, it doesn't matter how good or bad the body he takes. Even if his life expectancy is only 3 years, he can change his body after 3 years. Lu Han knew Satoru. He suddenly didn't think how bizarre this thing was, because he thought of a person, Orochimaru. Original book, Orochimaru developed the technique of immortality, which has something in common with the ability of smoke. Orochimaru started research and development after the Second Ninja World War, and Yan was unknown in the original work. He was rampant during World War II, and it is likely that he died during World War II. Who killed him? If it's Orochimaru, Orochimaru has discovered some secrets about the art of life and death from him, and it's not impossible. Lu Han looked at the smoke, and the constant fluctuation of life breath gave Lu Han a lot of insights and thought, and the anger in his heart also weakened a lot. The smoke has completed its transformation, and the powerful smoke is back. The reason why he is surrounded by smoke and does not show his true face is because he is not alone at all, right? His legend of invincibility is simply false. He has been defeated, but he appeared alive, and he is not alone at all. Lu Han looked at Hanzo and asked. You're very smart. Hanzo didn't deny it, grinning at Lu Han. Yan is indeed not a person. To be precise, his consciousness is unique, but his body has changed more than once. Might Dai is killing all directions like a tank. The master Hanzo brought. He has killed 2 and severely injured 1. Hokage Taishuo has already started to fight with Yan. Yan alone can hold Hokage Taishuo, and under Yan's command, the others all rushed to Kim and Might Dai. If Might Dai uses the 7-door forbidden technique, he should be able to kill the smoke, but this is a life-threatening technique. If Might Dai activates the Day Tiger, then the 7-door state will be lifted. The 7-door is his current limit. It's the ultimate move, and it's not easy to use. The roaring sea of fire gradually extinguished, and Lu Han stared. The charred ground, the seal of the sealing array is still there, densely covered like a spider web, and the scorching aura permeates the ground. There is a big hole in the middle of the ground, which was smashed by Senju Senluo when he landed. It seems that there has been a landslide, where nothing. Lu Han did not see Senju Senluo, and could no longer sense the Hiraishin Kunai that was placed on Senju Senluo's body. It seemed that everything was burnt out. Are there no bones left? Lu Han's heart twitched in pain, his hand holding the sword of astonishment exerted too much force, his knuckles turned white, and the flames of anger ignited in his heart again, almost tearing his sanity apart. Konoha, there are not many real friends. Hitachi Sakumo is one, Senju Senra is also. Senju Senra is a poor man, he did nothing wrong, it was Sarutobi Hiruzen, it was Danzo. It was Hanzo. Whoa! A black shadow suddenly appeared behind Luhan, his big flat head opened a bloody mouth, and a thick mist sprayed out. Sanjiao fish, poisonous mist spray. Hanzo is ready, he has a heart-to-heart with Sanjiao. When the Sanjiao will attack, he knows very well that after Luhan is poisoned, he will use thunder to eradicate this confidant. Boom! Get out of here! But seeing Luhan's body suddenly burst out with powerful blood energy, he roared almost wailing, turned around in an instant, and slashed fiercely in the face of the poisonous fog. The Sanjiao fish with extremely rich combat experience seemed extremely panic at this moment, and let out a shrill screams. The rocks in front of him swelled to form an obstacle. The rock wall was instantly smashed by Luhan, and the knife light brought a smear of blood. You, Hanzo roared, damn. Luhan actually hurt the pepperfish so easily. You must know that the Sanjiao fish has the magical ability to stick to the ground and disappear. If it disappears, and it burrows into the ground in an instant, but it is still injured by Luhan's knife. You can imagine how terrifying Luhan's knife is. Luhan's eyes were filled with blood, and after he hit the mountain pepper fish with a knife, he turned into a shadow and rushed straight to the half-hidden body. The light of the knife was like a yuhi-colored thunder. Ding! Congratulations to the host for comprehending the exclusive ability of the subversive, the blood boils. The elf's voice sounded in Luhan's mind, but Luhan didn't seem to hear it. Hanzo took Luhan's knife forcibly, but was directly blasted out, like a cannonball directly into the woods hundreds of meters away, and I don't know how many trees were broken, causing a roar. The shock of Luhan's feet appeared directly in front of the half-hidden hundreds of meters away, and the sword of shock slashed again. Hanzo looked shocked. Luhan's strength and speed had been amazingly improved, and the whole person was in a very wrong state, as if he was crazy. Hanzo dodge, dodge, dodge. Luhan is chasing Hanzo frantically. He doesn't seem to be able to use ninjutsu anymore, not even Hiraishin, who can move in a blink of an eye. What kind of secret technique is this? What is it? Hanzo asked in surprise. Naturally, Luhan would not answer him. When Hanzo once again used the teleportation technique to get out of danger, he found that Luhan was not chasing after him, and then he saw a scene that made him tear his eyes. Luhan, who was full of blood and energy, suddenly appeared behind the smoke and slashed down. Realizing that the dangerous smoke burst into smoke at this moment and dispersed, and saw the bloody knife light rolling up and down, bringing a terrible knife wind, sweeping all around, all the smoke was torn apart, without a trace, blood rain appeared out of thin air, fluttering. Smoke, die. Chapter 0611_Chase and Underground. Yan was instantly killed by the furious Luhan. In Luhan's special state, not even Hanzo dared to touch his edge, let alone Yan. Hanzo watched the smoke being killed. He could confirm that the smoke was really dead. At the moment when the sword energy was vertical and horizontal, not a single wisp of smoke escaped the shroud of the sword energy. You must know that when the smoke turned into smoke, it is impossible to defend and cast other spells. The incarnation of smoke has a strong side and a weak side. The fault of the smoke is that he should not completely turn himself into smoke at that moment and expose his weakest side to Luhan. Luhan also confirmed the death of Yan, because while the blood was raining, there was also a golden light that only he could see. Hundreds of falling objects appeared out of thin air and turned into streamers and penetrated into his body. 100% dead. If it is suspended animation, there will be no drops, such as the original boiling rain. Hanzo was angry, but more fearful. He didn't know why Luhan suddenly became so powerful, but he knew that he was no longer Han Guang's opponent. Han Guang had the ability to kill everyone present. Today, he will not only lose, but also die. Heng Guang, I will pay back today's revenge tenfold. Hanzo threw down his ruthless words, and turned into a shadow and ran wildly outside the Valley of End. Run! You can't go away, you can't go away. Luhan's voice was dry like metal friction. He turned into a yuhi-colored lightning, chasing Hanzo. Hanzo must die. The two chased and fled, and soon left the Valley of the End. After Hanzo completely escaped from the Valley of End, the 8 Omegakure powerhouses who were still alive whistled at the same time and ran in all directions. Hanzo all ran away, and they had to run because Hanzo had given them a special order, that is, if it happened accidentally, they had to evacuate the battlefield at last. This order was originally aimed at the black market. Hanzo's idea was that once the black market wanted to attack him, he would let the powerhouse in the black market be held back and run first. A very cold-blooded, ruthless, and unethical order, Hanzo is such a person, and this order finally took effect, but not because of the black market. Valley of the End soon became quiet, the woods were still burning, the bodies of several Omegakure powerhouses were lying everywhere, blood was flowing, and the Jinchuriki column in the center of the clearing became dim after losing control of Hanzo. Lost its effectiveness. Susu _ With the sound of fast running, more than a dozen Konoha ninjas rushed into the Valley of the End. They were all stunned when they saw the scene in the Valley of the End. These people were naturally the other members of the Konoha mission. Before, Hotake Taishuo led Might Dai to the Valley of the End first. Hotake Taishuo was much stronger than them, and he was good at speed, so he naturally left them far behind. The battle in the End Valley was over, and they came here, and the distance of dozens of kilometers is not too close. Is it over yet? Where are the people? Where are the people? Only these corpses. There are traces of burning here. It's here too. This steel Jinchuriki column is a sealed ninja tool. So big, what kind of sealing technique do you need to use? More than a dozen Konoha ninjas began to scattered search, and the bodies they found were all Omegakure. Call. Steel Jinchuriki column, a whirlwind suddenly rolled up in the open space. Might Dai, covered in blood, appeared out of thin air. Other Konoha ninjas immediately gathered around Might Dai. Before they could ask anything, they saw Hotake Taishuo not far away. Also appeared out of nowhere. Both of them had bloodstains on their bodies, their breath fluctuated, and they seemed to have consumed a lot. Might Dai's consumption was even more serious, and his face was pale. Both of them had just chosen an Omegakure powerhouse and chased them all the way out of the Valley of End. How is it? Hotake Taishuo looked at Might Dai. Killed, but didn't find anyone else. Might Dai, who was wearing a mask, had deep eyes. They ran very fast and scattered again. I tried to track the captain, but couldn't find it. Go back to Konoha, Hotake Taishuo said immediately. This matter must be reported to Lord Hokage as soon as possible. Hanzo escaped and Lu Han chased and killed. With the ability of the two, there is no one here to track it down. What happened today is too big, both in terms of casualties and impact. Once it is known to the outside world, it will definitely cause a sensation in the whole world. Ninja world, so the matter of going to the country of thunder can only be put aside for a while, and must report back to Konoha first. Besides, without the cold light, it would be useless for them to go to the land of thunder. Konoha mission, headed by Might Dai and Hotake Taishuo, soon left the Valley of End, which had just been devastated by the war, and they also took all the bodies. The Valley of the End became calm again, the moon was obscured by dark clouds, the fire in the woods was strangely extinguished, and the Valley of the End was dark. Senju Senro's place of death. That big hole. No one knew that the crater was not just knocked out, it was indeed a landslide, because not long ago, a huge hole had been quickly made under the crater. At that time, the fire was so bright that the high-temperature flames enough to burn the rock were obscured. Everything, the dazzling fire made people dare not look directly, so no one saw that Senju Senro was grabbed by the ankle of a thin palm that suddenly sprang from the ground before he died, and dragged into the ground. The underground and the ground are two different levels, so even Lu Han could not use the insight map to detect the existence of Senju Senluo. In the depths of the Valley of the End, in the cave illuminated by the fire, the shadow of the person was pulled very long by the jumping fire, and it danced like a ghost. On a stone platform, a slender, one-person high charred object was lying flat. The faint breath of life seemed to be lost at any time. It was Senju Senluo. He had been burned all over his body, and the burn area was 100%. If it weren't for him, he was from the Senju tribe. If it wasn't for the Senju Hashirama's cells in him, he'd be dead. The incomparably old Uchiha Madara stood in front of the stone platform in a plain robe, with a thin palm on Senju Senra's forehead, and strange chakra fluctuations rippling throughout his body. He is integrating the power of yin and yang in Senju Senluo's body, inspiring his vitality. You know, Senju Hashirama has incredible self-healing ability, which comes from Mokuden wood style, from the yang power behind sage body. Senju Senra also has these, but he can't control it, Uchiha Madara can. Chapter 0612-Wake Up. The strange chakra fluctuations are getting stronger and stronger, and dense beads of sweat gradually appear on Uchiha Madara's forehead. Maybe he is the only one in this world who can save Senju Senrao, but he is too old after all. Even if he has the ability to defy the sky, he wants to save people. It is also difficult to do it overnight. A figure suddenly appeared in the cave. This person is neither white Zetsu nor black Zetsu. His body is half black and half white, absolutely. Ju walked over to Uchiha Madara, looked at Senju Senluo on the platform, and said nothing. Time goes by. Hours have passed, the middle of the night. Senju Senluo suddenly had strong chakra fluctuations, and the majestic life force seemed to be uncontrollable and spread throughout the underground cave. I saw the vines hanging on the cave's stone walls growing wildly, and the ground quickly grew rapidly. It was covered with green grass. The grass quickly grew into grass, and flower buds stretched out from the grass, blooming into gorgeous yuhi flowers. The wild plants did not affect Uchiha Madara. Absolutely motionless. The coke-like Senju Senluo made bursts of cracking sounds. I saw cracks appear in the scorched black layer on the surface of his body, and the rapidly growing flesh and blood under the charred black layer pierced it, and pieces of skin and flesh scorched the material formed quickly. Peeled off, revealing pieces of bloody flesh. Those flesh and blood are still growing, and the muscles are visible to the naked eye. Senju Senluo's hair has long been burnt out, and his scalp is completely scorched. At this time, the scorched scalp is falling off, and a new scalp is growing, and then the hair grows wildly. He fully recovered. Lying naked on the platform, the new skin is extremely white and tender, and there is no scar on the whole body. Uchiha Madara slowly removed the hand from his forehead, feeling exhausted. Senju Senra's body was more chaotic than he imagined, mainly because Danzo had done various experiments on Senju Senra, not only the problem of conflict of power. However, everything can be healed under the power of yin and yang. Although Uchiha Madara has sent Rinnegan out, the power of yin and yang is hidden in the soul and will never be lost. Even if he dies, it will not be lost. Senju Senluo suddenly opened his eyes. Mangekyo's eyes were spinning rapidly. Bloodshot eyes were dissatisfied with his eyes. His expression immediately became hideous. His consciousness was still at the moment before he was about to be burned to death. He was full of hatred, so he woke up at this time. Come on, the state is a little crazy. But he immediately discovered his own problem, which was that he couldn't move. Some force imprisoned him. Immediately afterwards, he found an old figure standing on the edge of the platform, looking at him with stern eyes. Who are you? Senju Senro asked. Uchiha Madara, replied the old figure. Konoha village, which had been silent all night, began to be noisy again. During the war, although the Konoha village was heavily guarded and did not conduct trade with the outside world, the population of the Konoha village was very large. In addition to the ninjas, there were 20,000 to 30,000 ordinary residents. For these, as far as people are concerned, war is only a part of their lives. They have to do business and have to work to maintain a living. The economy of Konoha has been seriously slumped, and some people have started to starve. Although the village has established a rescue station, it has achieved little effect. It is not that Konoha has not spent enough money, but that it is difficult to buy enough food with money. The entire ninja world, the economic system of China is already on the verge of collapse, the number of missing nin is more than 10 times that of peacetime, and there are a huge number of refugees and bandits. The Ninja World War, whether it is for the ninja or the ninja world, is a catastrophe. Hokage Building, Hokage Office. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood in front of the window, looking at Konoha outside the window, without saying a word. He has often done this recently. The once vibrant Konoha hidden village is now like an old man, no longer prosperous. If the ninja war continues, the war will bring down the entire Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen wants to end all this. Lord Hokage. Bang. The door was slammed open, and the dusty Hatake Taishuo rushed into the office in a hurry. He rushed back to Konoha first. Under normal conditions, he was the fastest. Might Dai was still behind, and it was estimated that he would not be able to catch up until noon. Return. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned when he saw Hatake Taishuo. His face changed. Why are you back? Hatake Taishuo visited the Land of Thunder with Han Guang. How long has it been since he came back? Hatake Taishuo knelt down on one knee and saluted Sarutobi Hiruzen, and then began to spit and began to speak. He was very emotional. He first talked about Senju Senluo. When he heard the word Senluo, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed dramatically. Immediately thought of a possibility. Danzo sent Senju Senluo to assassinate Han Guang. Senju Senra should be dead. Danzo told Sarutobi Hiruzen, and now it's clear that Danzo lied. Sarutobi Hiruzen guessed wrong. Hatake Taishuo didn't mention that Senju Senluo was going to assassinate, instead he mentioned that Senju Senluo fought side by side with Hengguang and was killed by the demigod Hanzo in the Valley of the End, and a Megakure Anbu Captain Yan died in the hands of Hengguang. Matter is not complicated, but Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed several times. Han Guang actually has the strength to kill Hanzo. This is the most important information that Sarutobi Hiruzen got. He knows very well what strength Hanzo is. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen has improved in strength in recent years and has developed several powerful ninjutsu, he dare not say that he will definitely be able to defeat Hanzo. Cold light. Lord Hengguang was heartbroken when he saw Senluo's death in battle, so he used a forbidden technique to improve his strength. The smoke that was killed first, Hanzo saw that something was wrong and fled in embarrassment. Lord Hengguang chased and killed him all the way out of the Valley of the End. Quote. Hatake Taishuo finally said, "My subordinates tried to find Lord Hengguang, but they didn't find it." After listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen, he didn't say a word for a while. His face was sometimes gloomy and terrifying, sometimes excited, and sometimes complicated. "Go and rest, I'll handle it." Sarutobi Hiruzen finally raised his hand and said. Hatake Taishuo left. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked out the window again. Call Danzo over. Yes. A cold response came from outside the window. After a while, Hanzo appeared in the office with a cold breath and a mask. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly turned his head and asked, "You asked Senluo to kill Han Guang?" Chapter 0613 Danzo Defection _ Danzo was already mentally prepared. He asked Senluo to kill Han Guang, but he did not let Senluo kill others. So as long as Han Guang died, even if Senluo died with him, the other ninjas on the mission would come back to report the situation. It is impossible to hide it. A ninja as powerful as Han Guang, who wants to assassinate quietly, is simply impossible. Hiruzen, do you think I'm more important, or is the cold light more important? Danzo asked in a calm voice, not calling Hokage, indicating that he was asking this question in a private capacity. You admit it. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes, his face gloomy and terrifying. I have an irreconcilable blood feud with Han Guang. You should understand that the reason why I wanted to kill him back then was because he had a problem. I am the leader of the route, and I did nothing wrong. Danzo continued, in this Konoha, there is him. Without me, with me without him, I think you know very well that as long as Hengguang is given a chance, he will definitely kill me. Our final outcome is either his death or my death. When I was born and sweated for Konoha, there is no such person in this world. Yes, I asked Senluo to kill him. What are you going to do with me? Danzo acted like a hobhead. He didn't believe Sarutobi Hiruzen would kill him. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't do that. The two are best friends in private. Danzo is indeed blood and sweat for Konoha's birth and death. His loyalty to Konoha is unquestionable. He is on and off with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen is in the light, known as the greatest Hokage, and Danzo is in the dark, and he takes all the blame. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked a little excited. His eyes were bloodshot, staring at Danzo. There was an eerie silence in the office. The atmosphere was suppressed to ultimate. You go. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his back and looked out the window. Take your people, leave Konoha, go as far as possible, and don't come back. You can't drive me away. Danzo's face changed greatly. Let him go. It was more uncomfortable than killing him directly. I won't leave Konoha. Hangwang is dead. You want to abandon me for a dead person. You should knowing my role in Konoha. Hangwang is just a personal force, and I. Shut up. Sarutobi Hiruzen roared back, eyes bloody Yuhi, as if going mad. Hangwang is not dead. He will definitely kill you when he returns to Konoha. Even Hanzo is no longer his opponent. I can't stop it anymore. He will never let you go. Danzo's face changed drastically and he stayed on the spot. Senrao is dead, but not by Hangwang, but by Hanzo. Hangwang was ambushed by Hanzo when he passed through the Valley of the End. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke quickly, explaining the general situation in simple language. If you don't go, you will die, don't you understand? Sarutobi Hiruzen roared out, already hysterical. Sarutobi Hiruzen is very clear that the only solution to Hangwang's personal feud with Danzo is for him to execute Danzo, because this is the fault of Danzo. If Sarutobi Hiruzen openly protects Danzo, his prestige will surely plummet in the condemnation of public opinion, and establish an unparalleled prestige in the world. Sarutobi Hiruzen used it for 20 years, and to destroy it, one day is enough. In fact, there is another way that is not the solution, that is to let the two duel, which is the most common way to solve personal hatred, but Danzo is not a cold light opponent at all. Danzo's eyes gradually became dull. I see. In the 35th year of Konoha, on April 20th, Danzo, the assistant of Konoha Hokage and the leader of the Root Organization, launched a rebellion in the village of Konoha with most of the members of the Root Organization, and then fled with injuries. The Hokage building was more than half destroyed in the rebellion battle. The third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was angry. Konoha was a sensation, and the news quickly spread throughout the ninja world. On the afternoon of the same day, Sarutobi Hiruzen held an emergency meeting, at which a Super S-Class wanted notice was issued, and a reward of 30 million taels was offered to capture Danzo. The northwest frontier of the Fire Nation, the war zone between the Rain Nation and the Fire Nation. It is already dusk, and the ruined forest is quite desolate and lonely under the afterglow of the setting sun. There has just been a war here. The forest and trees within a radius of more than 10 kilometers have been destroyed, the rocks collapsed, the rivers were diverted, and the ground was full of anxiety. Cracks everywhere. Damn. The blood-covered figure knelt on one knee in the huge pit, bit Kiba and